That was shaky start. Shaky start. That was shaky start, man. I don't know what the fuck. It's failing me. There it is. Yep. We already had the intro. Fuck that. Fuck that. What is up?
What's up, bro?
MuseMe TV, everybody. This is MuseMe TV episode 100. Fuck, dude, 100. Fuck, I gotta get the crowd up on that fucking shit right there. Episode 100. And I was like, you know what? I was gonna make it special. I was like, I'm gonna do it by myself. But then we started talking to you, man, and I was just
fate intervened.
I was just like, that's just too coincidental, man. Let's get this guy on the podcast and let's fucking talk about this.
One of the main themes here tonight is going to be everything is timing. Everything is timing. And last night when we talked, okay, listen, folks. When we talked, it was the first time me and him had talked in probably 15, 16 years.
Quite a while, yep.
At least. Last time I seen him, he didn't even look the same. He was a small child.
Dude, I looked the same.
He was a kid. So, the way I remember it, okay, listen, I felt really bad, and this is what I remember, is the last time I seen you, I just bought a brand new Nissan Frontier. It was cool, and I went to go pick up my brother. And your mom and you were there at my mom's house, and I went to go pick up my brother, and my brother was like, can we take Angelito? And I was like, dude, you know, I can't be running around with a bunch of kids, and I don't know when I'm going to come back, and it just makes things complicated, and I want to go show off my truck to the world.
Yeah, what do you do?
And it was everything. My stupid truck was everything at the moment. And so I just, so I remember your face as I drove away 16 years ago, and I seen you for the first time last night again. So whenever I thought of you, I was like, man, I always remember thinking, oh, poor guy, I should have took him with me.
That was one of those moments where you're just like, man, I wonder what would happen if I would have just took him with me.
Nah, and it's not like we did anything special. Nothing happened. You know what I mean? It was just
a cruise.
We just took the new truck out to go show somebody else who I don't even talk to anymore. That doesn't even matter. So.
But that face, you remember the face.
I remember the disappointment. I was like, oh, poor fucking guy. I felt so bad. I was like, oh, man, I felt so bad. And there's the baby cry noise.
Right. There it is, man. Listen.
So, Angelito is one of the things I wanted to say. Because that's how we remember him as. And I'm sure that's what you go by right now.
A lot of people do call... Well, no, nobody ever calls me Angelito.
Really?
I'm too big. Nobody calls me Angelito. Like, okay.
Bro.
I can barely get anybody to say Angel.
Okay.
So it's mostly just Angel, or sometimes people will say like...
So the most current amalgamation of you is Angel.
Angel.
Oh, man. Angel. That's crazy.
I know, man. It's crazy. There are some people that do call me Angel, but...
Yeah,
it's Angel. And then that's what freaks me out too, is like Dan or your mom will call me, and the first thing they're like, hey, Angelito. I'm like, damn. Olds, that's crazy.
See, that's the hood. That's what's up. That's for the war zone. That's the war zone name right there, okay?
Back in the day.
And tonight I'm going to bring you some of the history that this guy doesn't even know.
I don't. Like, I remember I was telling you a little bit about, like, I got in that ski accident or whatever.
And then right as we said ski accident, and I started to tell you, hey, what about this? And do you remember that? We said, stop.
Yeah.
Let's not do this. Let's save this for tomorrow night for you guys.
Yeah, and I needed to do this live because, I mean, it's always great to have that suspense and, like, the buildup of, like, oh, man, I can't believe I did something like that.
All day I was thinking about how fate has brought me to where I am today, and how our meeting last night was just another one of those pieces of fate that just happened, man.
Because we still got to talk about the story you told me last night. Because that is dope as fuck.
So what I'm going to say right now is I don't want to give up too much of it, but I do want to give a big shout out to LA Originals. Now, if you follow me or you've seen my post, or if recently you follow me, or if you're one of my fans, you'll see that I've posted LA Originals on everything. So what I'm doing right now is I'm doing some grassroots post-production promotion. So what I need you guys to do is I need you to do me a favor. Anybody watching this, go watch LA Originals on Netflix. It will cost you nothing. You don't have to do anything but watch it.
Just check it out.
Just check it out. So not only will you get a good education on what kind of like where I don't know where my family originates from, because my grandfather's from East LA, and you know, he went out and he found a Native American woman, made my mother, and we ended up in New Mexico, and you're gonna find out right now why. But I have strong ties to LA Originals in LA, so go watch the Netflix, go watch the doc, guys. It's sick. I'm not even asking you to spend any money, and that's the only thing I'm going to promote here. And that was sent down from the top. So they wanted to say, hey, you're going to get some publicity. Make sure you mention the documentary, and I will throughout this whole thing. I will, and then we're kind of going to culminate into the end of the story.
Yeah,
where last night our conversation, and maybe by the end of the story, I'll be excited enough to let some of the cat out of the bag. So we'll see what happens.
That's what's up.
But for now, let's start from the beginning. Why don't we do that?
Dude, okay, so I don't even remember how old I was when I lived, because I know I lived in different spots in the war zone.
Same.
We've lived in different spots there.
Dude, you know, I think I lived in three different apartments in the war zone. And I think maybe even 4, now that I think of it. But it's just one of those things where when you're there, it's almost like you get stuck there. You don't, it's not easy to leave. And it's almost like it's what I like to call poor tax, right? It's a poor tax because, like, for poor people like me and you growing up, it costs more for us to do something because we don't have the resources already available to us.
Yeah.
So there's a poor tax, you know? So when it comes to the poor tax, it's like things for poor people cost more because you just don't have the resources. Like currently, I'm blessed now because I've worked really hard, 21 years in the wood flooring business, and I think I'm going soon. Here, I'll be going on 24, 25 years in construction, and I'm just, I just got nubby fingers and I can lift a lot, and I'm a big kid, so.
And you gain those traits too as you do those jobs.
Yeah, exactly. I was brought to carry stuff, and 21 years later, I'm a craftsman. So, when it comes down to it, you know, where we came from, it was a lot harder. So the reason we lived in several apartments in the war zone and never really moved out. It's like in the war zone, for anybody listening and watching, is the Southeast Heights in International District.
Yeah,
right?
now it's known as the International District.
So the city put a nice little spin on it and gave us a nice little pretty name, International District, but we've always known it as the War Zone.
The War Zone.
The War Zone.
Listen to that name. When somebody says they lived in the War Zone, that's not like, oh, ha ha, joke, little thing. Dude, hard shit happened there, and that's what's crazy.
I came from the place. I said this I said it on one of my posts. I came from the place your mom says not to go. Okay, that's where we came from. That's where struggle comes from. Okay, you watch the LA Originals. Again, just one more shout out. You'll see what struggle brings is diamonds in the rough. You know, and the war zone isn't something we called it. It was something that it was named before we got there. Yeah. The war zone. It was its own world, okay? It was its own ecosystem. And one of the reasons we were there is we were part of the ecosystem that brought in supplies, okay? And when I say supplies, I don't mean it in like drugs or anything. What we did is we drove an ice cream truck. We were those ghetto-ass people who drove around in the ice cream truck. All right? And then what we ended up doing was we would meet people throughout the community. So my mom, she hooked up with the next door neighbor, and the next door neighbor ended up being friends with your mom, correct?
Yeah.
So the next door neighbor was Michelle, which is one of your family members, correct? Right now. Yeah. She ended up turning into one of your family members. She married.
Michelle is my mom.
No, I'm sorry, not Michelle.
Lupe.
There you go, boom. So Lupe was the one who...
See, and that's where this is where I'm confused already, is because I don't even... I remember when I was about maybe like... Oh, God, I don't even know. But in the war zone area, I lived on Dallas and Zuni. Somewhere on that end, right there on Dallas.
You lived a little bit closer to Bell. on Dallas. Okay.
But I lived there with my dad.
Yes, your dad.
My mom, and my dad had a roommate.
Mm-hmm.
My dad, it was the two Mexican guys, my dad's friend, and then my mom moved in with them.
Yep.
If I remember correctly. I don't remember Lupe at all. Mm-hmm. The only thing I remember is that they had that home on Grove.
Okay, so now the home on Grove. Now, anybody who's familiar with some,
I know we're like dropping like straight knowledge of our hometown and stuff because we have people that come in from Germany. We have everybody all over the world. But I'm just letting you guys know, like, there's some deep rooted shit in here, and this is why we're talking about certain locations and shit like that.
Okay, so just for everybody who's not initiated, the home that we're going to speak about on Grove was a home to one of the biggest gang members in the war zone. Now, when I say the biggest gang member in the war zone, now the war zone being one of the most dangerous parts of Albuquerque, New Mexico, in the United States. Albuquerque, New Mexico is really bad as far as the United States goes in the first place. But back in the 90s, it was pretty bad too. What we do is we go through waves. It was explained to me by a police officer that way. We go through waves. So right now we're in a really bad wave. So back in the 90s, we lived on Grove Street next to a house that was owned by a lady, and her son was one of the biggest gang members in Albuquerque. At the time, he was part of the Juaritos Maravilla gang. Okay, JMV. So, and I was fresh. It was 1994, and
94.
1994.
Okay, how old are you then? Older than me.
So you, sir,
I just turned 30.
30, and I'm about to turn 38.
38? So you're 8 years older.
8 years older. So when I met you, you were 3, and I was 11.
Okay, yeah.
I was 11, you were 3. Okay?
Because I usually go by the end numbers of growing up. So 1994, I just barely was going to turn 4.
Yeah, so you were 4.
And yeah, you were 11.
So I was 11, and what I used to do is, at a young age, we had to, because it was a family business, we had to go. We didn't have to, but it was better than sitting at home. We would go and work on my aunt's ice cream truck. Okay? And so when you go work on the ice cream truck, she drives, you take the money, one of my cousins takes the money, and then I get the ice cream. You know, it's easy peasy, and then you get to eat all the ice cream you want and cruise around, and you get to see the hood up and down. So we go up and down. So if you were to Google Map International District, you will see a grid. It's basically 8-10 streets this way, and it's like 3-4 streets this way. It's boundaried by Zuni, it's boundaried by Louisiana, and people like to debate what is the real war zone. Well, we lived in the heart of it.
Yeah, in the beginning, yeah.
Me and you. Now look at us now. Diamonds come from rough places. Diamonds come from...
Nobody believes me. Nobody thinks I've ever seen a hard life, dude. It freaks me out, dude.
Let me tell you about...
Totally freaks us out.
I'm not even going to call you Angel. Because you're not Angel, bro. You're Angelito, okay? Angelito is the son of a Mexican national, a gentleman who came here from Mexico first. He wasn't born here, correct?
Yeah, he wasn't born here.
He came... Okay, so what that means is he was either young or old. I don't know. This is the part I don't know. He was either young or old. Okay, this is just from what happens. Okay, he was either young as a kid and he was brought over by his parents, or his dad was young and brought over by his parents, or his dad came over and had to pay money to a coyote.
So that's more of the story. He came here for work at the age of like 19, 20.
Bro. How many 19-year-olds right now that are listening or wherever they might be are sitting there crying, oh, I can't do anything. I don't know what to do. Your dad said, you know what? I'm going to move to another fucking country, and I'm going to pay this guy to run me through the fucking desert in the middle of the night. That's what your dad did. And so people, when you see this gentleman right here, and if you think that he's not fucking down and he's not... Can I cuss on here?
Do it, dude. Fuck.
If you think he's not down and you think he's not from the hood... Let me tell you something. This kid is from the shit, okay? We come from the fucking gutter, okay? When they came to Albuquerque, like, whatever, a decade ago, they went to the war zone to go do a home remodel for the fucked up house in Albuquerque, okay? That's what they did. And Angelito lived a couple blocks from that house. So in the war zone, you had a handful of people. How long are we going to go tonight?
Dude, all 3 hours. Let's, dude, podcast it all night. Thank you guys. I got 6 viewers on right now. You guys are awesome. Thank you for listening. Again, I got Josh on here. We're just fucking chatting.
We're gonna make this interesting, guys, and it's a long story, but I'm gonna lay it out for you because it's.
Hey, do you want something to drink?
Yes, please.
What do you want? I got
just water or beer, whatever.
I got anything.
Okay, just hook it up.
Hey, give a shout out where they can find you and stuff on Instagram and shit right away. I'll be right back, guys.
Okay, and I'll continue our story too.
Yeah, go for it, man.
So you can find me at Instagram on Floors of Burke. Okay, now on Floors of Burke, you'll find out how I set out to do X and ended up doing Y, and then it turned into Z, and then we're here tonight. Okay, so Floors of Burke was originally... Yeah, let me have both of one of those. I'll have one of these, I'll have one of those. So Floors of Burke was originally a place for me as a craftsman to put up my craft. And I just said, you know what, I'm going to put up my craft. I'm going to put up my pictures of wood, and eventually I had an idea, and I'll share that with you in a little while. And my idea turned into, something I was really proud of and I accomplished.
And now, dude, like literally, when he first started to tell me the story, he's just like I just went out with a goal to do something that nobody really does, and just do of me flooring.
Yeah,
flooring, dude.
So flooring. They're so mundane, and it's just kind of left field. But people are buying floors.
And dude, I love this thing. There's a market for everything. I don't give a shit what anybody says, dude.
That was one of the motivators too when I started. Is somebody had said too. There's. I think it was my niece. Shout out to my niece, Maya. She knows who I'm talking about. She said, there's a market for everything. So I was like, dude, that is true. It's true. People will watch everything. And I didn't even take that as like a slight or anything. I was like in total agreement. I was like, dude, no joke. So back to Angelito, now that he's here. This guy came from the gutter. Okay.
The hood, bro.
This guy has some really deep ties. He might like some anime, and we're not hurt about that. We don't care. From the hood, we're all good. And especially the OGs. Now, Angelito might look young. He might look like
innocent.
He might
I get that so much, dude.
He might look like he's never seen it. But let me tell you, okay? We're going to go deep. We're going to dig deep right now. LA Original Style. We're going to show you a documentary on a podcast right now. That's what I came to do. I'm a person who breaks rules, and the rule is that we just have to sit here and chat. No, the rule is we're going to do a documentary right now about Angelito,
dude,
and about how we've culminated in our lives came together. We're doing it tonight, folks. LA Original Style. We're going to do a LA Original Style documentary, just like I've been doing this whole last week. If you guys have been following me, and if you guys look at my highlights on my Instagram page, Floors of Burke, you'll see,
dude,
I did grassroots post-production promotion for LA Originals, and I did that on purpose with the help of a whole bunch of homies. Don't get it twisted. Little Jay, I see you out there, brother. I see all the homies from Viejitos. I see all you guys. I see my cousin out there, Chris, Low Vision Car Club. I see Ramirez. What's up, brother? You know what I'm talking about. See, these guys, they said, you know what? Look at this homie hustling. Let's get him out here. Hey, they call me. What's up, bro? We're here. I'll be, and I'm there. So that's how we've been doing it the last few weeks.
That's what's up.
So when it comes to Angelito, I really want to stay on. I'm going to stay on story so that you guys can keep track, because I'm a really decent storyteller, and I'm going to bring you that skill right now today to all the viewers. And so when it comes to Angelito, his dad came over at 19 years old through the desert in the middle of the night, probably with a pack of something on his back that they told him not to open and to give to the homie when he gets there. What? So these are just speculations, because this is what happens every fucking day, people.
Dude, it's so true, man.
Okay. So this guy, his dad comes from the gutter. He gets to America. He meets a beautiful woman. Let me tell you. All right, so the reason me and Angelito know each other mainly is because your mom and my mom pretty much were besties, because in the ghetto, women getting beat. Okay, so your mom, my mom, everybody got beat. I'm not saying by your dad. No. I'm saying maybe by a boyfriend. Who knows? No, maybe by somebody else in the ghetto where they just grab you and throw you on the ground. World Star's not fake, people. Yep. World Star's for real.
That's some real
World Star, you know what I'm saying? And we had World Star in front of our faces. See these eyes? Look in that camera, Angelito. See those eyes right there? Do you see these eyes? We seen the shit. We seen some really, really bad shit happen in front of our own eyes. And this was all before video cameras were given to everybody. Yeah, okay? Dude. So, before video cameras were given to everybody, boom, mente. So I got it in my mind. So let me give it to you. So, Angelita's mom, she was a very good-looking woman, and your dad was a very lucky man. Now, what your mom was good at was finding herb. So my mom would go to her and say, hey, I need some herb. And your mom would be like, yeah, fuck yeah, let's go smoke a joint. Let me get you some herb.
Plant some trees.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So and don't get it twisted. My mom is a medical marijuana patient today because of the way the laws have changed. And thanks to our lawmakers, and make sure you go out there and vote, folks.
Dude, half of fucking the world smokes, dude. I mean, that's just so ridiculous how it was turned into it.
Yeah, no, so you know, there's been a prohibition against a lot of things. There's prohibition marijuana. There's a prohibition against marijuana, and we're living the tail end of it, and it's a beautiful thing to see. And right now, my mom has her medical marijuana card, and she's been medicating. And let me tell you, as we're growing up in the ghetto, when my mom would smoke a joint and be happy and take us to go get ice cream or go run around with us, it was way better than when she took Zoloft and she was in her room for months on Zoloft.
That's so true.
No. Listen. Months in her room on Zoloft. Not good. So when I was like 14, you know, I was there, man of the house. When your mom's in the room, what do you have to do? You have to go. We don't have a washer and dryer. You got to go wash your own clothes. You got to wash everybody's clothes, bro. So at 14, 13, 14, 12, whatever it was, I'm over there washing clothes.
You're already taking responsibilities.
I'm washing clothes. So I'm sitting there. I'm taking clothes to the laundromat. I'm going to the store. I'm buying groceries with our food stamps because we lived on EBT, and one of the things that was it's just one of those things in the ghetto is it's hard to get off of welfare, because if you get a real low income job, your welfare is removed from you because now you're making X and you don't qualify for what you were before, and it throws your whole budget off. So a lot of times people will just stay on welfare.
Yeah, and it seems like it's a harder method, but dude, they're still working. They're still trying to get all that shit done with the benefits that they are getting. Like, you know, dude, you have so much money to do what you can.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, there's and when people think, oh, well, everybody gets X on welfare a month, that X is not equal to your dollar. It's not equal to the dollar of the normal American. The poor person's dollar equals like 70 some cents, because there's a 30-cent tax on the fact that you got to get on that bus. You got to jump on the bus, right? Yeah. And now you're another hour and a half into your commute, because now you got to get on the bus to go to where you need to be. And then you got to make sure that you can get off of that job or whatever it is, or wherever you're going, in time to get back on that bus to get back to where you're supposed to be, or you're walking. You're walking, homie. So when it comes to the ghetto and when it comes to poor people, me and this guy know there's a tax on poor people. And it's unfortunate, and it shouldn't be, but there is. There's also an unfortunate situation where people on welfare, it's very hard to get off, and then people too that live in certain areas like the war zone that we lived in.
Yeah,
there's people in the war zone that they don't want to leave. You know, they don't want to leave because they're so scared of what might be out there and how much it might cost. Because the war zone's nice and cheap, and they all know all these people, and that's another thing. That's where we come in, is they know people. So they know people. And when you know people, you become lifelong friends.
Yeah, that's so true.
When I seen Angelito for the first time in 16 years, no matter what had happened before, because of the fact that we went through so much junk together, we seen each other and we know that we're the real. We know we're each other. We know we're real. We know each other from back when. We know each other from the ghetto. We know each other from the junk. So your mom would hang out with my mom.
My mom was good at finding the herb.
She was good at finding herb. And
that's so cool. See, these are shit I love learning. I love learning.
And then also, too, we would go... one of the things that you'll see on my page right now is my love for cruising. Excuse me. So my love for cruising right now, it's not something I just found. It's not something I just kind of just, I like cruising all of a sudden. And I'm going to, hey, Angelito, I've been doing floors for 21 years and now I need to go cruise with all the guys. No, guys. My buddy over here and me, his mom and me, we would go cruising. His dad had didn't your dad have a Camaro?
Oh, dude, the Camaro. The white one or the red one? Dude, my dad's had so many Camaros, but I think it was probably the white or the red one.
So rewind the tape, and I said Camaro, then he said Camaro. So I'm remembering, see?
At least you know what he had, too.
So he had a Camaro. It was a fly-ass Camaro. He had a couple of them, one red one, one white one. So when he had the white one, we would go cruising, okay? And I was this big.
Always.
I was always this big. So I was on the ice cream truck like, what's up, man? How old are you? I'm fucking 13, man. What's up? So I've always been this big. So whenever I would go cruising with your mom, it was just to kind of like give her skina.
Yeah.
So that nobody would fuck with her in the ride. And your dad was cool with it because I was just some kid. I'm not fucking Sancho. I'm not Joe Blow over here that just kind of showed up. I'm Gene's kid.
Yeah, and my mom was always a caring person. She always took care of a lot of people.
So one of the things that your mom seen was this kid, this poor 13-year-old kid who didn't have any kind of fucking outlet to go do anything. So she would say, hey, Josh, you want to go cruising with me? Let's go. Your mom would swoop me up. We would go to drive-through liquor store. Me and your mom.
Remember those days? Fuck, dude. Oh.
So this is the real.
The drive-through liquor, dude. Oh, that was the thing. If you guys don't know what we're talking about, you would literally drive up to a fucking window. Beep, beep. Hey, can I get fucking a 6-pack of Corona? And you know what? No problem, sir. Here, take the money. Drive away. And you wonder why there was so much problems with alcohol and shit? Oh, my God.
So we would go to the drive-up liquor. We'd go Cruise Central. And this is when they would give you a 12-pack. And one of the things I always remembered was your mom would buy a half rack. And a half rack was a 12-pack torn in half. And they'd sell it to her. And then she'd get so buzzed. And I looked like an adult. To the point where my homies would be like, bro, go buy us beer, bro. What fuck? If I looked fucking 20, whatever, I'd go buy beer. That's what I heard growing up. So your mom would throw me the keys and say, hey, I'm too drunk. Your mom was responsible.
Yeah.
She was responsible, folks. Don't get it twisted. She was responsible enough to bring somebody along so that when we were cruising and it's time to go home and she couldn't drive, boom, there's your boy. Me at 12, 13, I was already driving for a while.
Doing that shit. Fuck yeah.
So I would go back and I'd tell your dad, oye, señor, aquí está su esposa, aquí están los llaves, ahí te miro mañana, ahí los vemos. And he say, pues, ¿qué pasó? Pues ahí estaba tomando, fuimos pa' aquí, pa' allá, no tienes gasolina ya, and ahí está su señora. And so let me translate for the people who don't understand what I just said. I said, I would drive his mom home, and I would give him the keys, and say, hey, here's your wife, and here's your keys. You don't have any more gas. Because we cruised up and down Central so many times. We went up and down, up and down, up and down so many times that you don't have any gas anymore, but here's everything. And the one thing I was grateful for was the fact that, I was allowed to go cruising. So I felt that the responsibility landed on me to be the responsible party to bring your dad's car back in one piece, as well as your mother.
Yeah.
And it was, and your mom, I don't know how much younger she was than my mom, but she was a younger spirit.
Yeah.
Right? She always has been.
Yes.
So with your mom being a younger spirit, and I've always been an old soul. So me and your mom kind of like were on the same page. It was almost like brother and sister, me and your mom. So she would come to my mom for advice, for legal counsel. She would come for everything. My mom was like the curandera. She was over there. She would take care of Michelle. If something happened, she'd go check on her. I'd be leaving for work one day, and she'd be like, Michelle called, and she's in jail. I need to go get her. My mom was that lady to your mom. So whenever I think of Michelle, when I think of your mom, I think of almost like a sister. Yeah. And I just put this together, but that makes you kind of like my nephew. What's up, son?
Yeah,
not
right.
Just playing.
Especially the way, because I've been learning in so much from you. You've had an experience 8 years before me. Like,
Yeah.
you've been living that whole life. There's stuff in this story that I'm already freaked out that I'm just like, God damn, man, that's already so much.
So, boom. It's a perfect segue. Perfect segue. You're a fucking podcaster and a half, brother.
That's what's up, man.
So, cheers to the segue. So, back to our LA Original Style. Go watch it on Netflix. Back to our LA Original Style documentary. I'm going to give you my past and what brought me to Albuquerque.
Yeah, because you're not even from here.
No, so my mom...
You are now. This is your fucking...
Yeah, Albuquerque till I die. Okay.
505.
505. My kids were born at UNM, both of them. What's up? I ain't going nowhere. The kids ain't going nowhere. We got like familia for days here. I got cousins on top of cousins that are cousins that I didn't even met that are cousins.
If anything, like you say, we're blowing up this spot.
We're going to bring everything. I'm going to blow up Albuquerque. I'm telling you, people. I'm going to bring a lot of attention to Albuquerque. I already have. I have a lot of people from all over the country who are following me. Right now, I think I just hit 1,000, which is ironic. Timing is everything. It's very ironic that we're here today. I hit 1,000. I'll probably hit 1,000 as we sit here on this table doing this podcast. I'll hit 1,000 followers.
And let them know within the time frame.
So
that's within a little bit of time frame, guys.
So if you guys look back at my Instagram, it's all there and it's all chronologically recorded for you to see what has happened and how I've done it. It's all there to see. It's not a fake. It's not accidental. I did this on purpose, and was blood, sweat, and tears. I did this all to create what I wanted to create, and I did it. And I went for it, and I chased after it. So if you go back to, like I said, if you go to my Instagram page, you can see that what I did is I started posting about floors. We'll get into this part now, I guess.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. So I started posting about floors because I wanted to see how many people would be interested in just seeing, hey, I'm out there, I'm doing floors. Might as well post up some pictures. And then I also was thinking, there's a lot of my family members who don't even know what I do. They're like, oh yeah, what I would get for 18 of the 21 years I've been doing floors, what I would get is hey, you still do tile? Hey, you still do tile? Don't you do carpet? Hey, bro, come here. Hey, you do tile? You do tile? You do tile? You do tile? What I did is I said, I'm going to start a page that shows hardwood flooring. So what I did is I started a page, hardwood floors.
All right,
Floors of Burke.
I got it up here, watch. Check it out. There it is.
So
we got some stuff coming up, but go ahead.
So on Floors of Burke, I'm just putting up floors. And the reason I call it Floors of Burke is because that's where we're at, and that's what I do. It's the Floors of Burke. So, a lot of people think, oh, it's just the floor guy, but I did some pretty big names when it comes to floors. So, I don't. We're not supposed to say too much. Sometimes there's like legalese.
Yeah.
That they make a sign that says, "Hey, you're not going to talk about what you're doing here." But there's some, because of that, I've taken notice to the people who don't. So, I did LeBron James's basketball court. These two hands. I didn't install it. That was another part, a division of the company I worked for. And I don't own a company. I'm just a wood flooring professional. I don't own a company, and I'm not planning on owning a company. I'm a wood floor professional, and you could see, back in the day, I just did pictures of everything we do. We do gym floors.
I think I found it.
Yeah, there you go. Boom. See, we do gym floors. We do residential. We do all this stuff. We do a lot of different things. Should I move this?
No, you're good.
No, okay.
You're good.
So we do a lot of different things. So I was like, let me highlight that. And then so what I did is one day I always have these ideas. So like in this crazy idea, panic, I said, you know what? We need to do a show. So my original idea was something I haven't told anybody about, but I wanted to do a show, with the wood floors in mind. And we didn't end up doing that. And I don't know, it was something that we had planned on doing, and it was something that, you know, it was bigger than just wood floors, and it's a big idea, and I don't want to give it up too much because it might still be a great idea in the future. Everybody who I told, including my boss, was like, holy shit, where did that come from?
That's like dope. That was like, hell yeah.
And I'm not going to tell you exactly 100% what it was.
Nah,
you know,
okay.
Yeah, we'll keep that for podcast 150, and then
we'll talk about that off the record. We'll talk about that off.
No. I'll let you in on it soon enough. You know, we'll just kind of see what happens. You know, we're so early in this whole thing. So that, you know, the show about wood floors, I said, you know what? While I'm waiting, well, you know, the people I was talking to, because I contacted people, and those people said, let's do this. And so they said, after Corona's over, we can do this. And I said, you know what? That sounds great. Let me hone some of my fucking talents that I think I have while this is going on. And let me hone that so that when it does happen, I have a little bit more experience doing X, Y, and Z in order to better create what I wanted to create in the future. So I did that. I said, you know what? I'm going to make a couple videos of what we're doing the next couple days. And I made a little video. I made like a music video. Oh, no. I'm sorry. A movie trailer.
Like a trailer.
So I just made like a movie trailer on iMovie, and it was pretty freaking cool. It was silly. It was fun. It was me. And I was like, you know, and the reason I did it, one of the main reasons is because when we work out of town, we were working in Ted Turner's ranch. So Ted Turner is the biggest landowner in North America.
Dope. Okay.
So Ted Turner he owns CNN, if I'm not mistaken.
So much shit, TBS, a bunch of shit.
Turner Broadcasting System and all that stuff. So Ted Turner, we did a lot of Ted Turner's house in Vermejo, which is one of his game preserves.
Okay.
So we did Ted Turner's. We did LeBron James. We did Tom Ford. Tom Ford, the designer. He designed Michelle Obama's dress for some inaugural dance or something to that effect. Tom Ford's a big name. LeBron James, I don't know if you guys have heard of him. He's this little basketball star. He throws his ball in a hoop. It's pretty wicked. So he plays basketball, and basketball's played on a wood floor, and we do wood floors. So our company went out to City X, and we put in, it was in a different state. They hired us out of state, and we work with these interior designers that really love us and know what we can produce. And we went out of state, and we did LeBron James's winter home with a basketball court, half court. Turned out fucking pimp.
That's dope.
So LeBron James, you know, Tom Ford, Carol Burnett lives in Santa Fe. Val Kilmer, when he sold his ranch, he sold it to, that's where I signed the paper. And so there's a lot of people we do a lot of floors for. Okay. So I figured, hey, you know, I do a lot of freaking pimp floors. Let me throw up some of these places, man, because I see some houses. People think Albuquerque, New Mexico, oh, poor, broke, dangerous. I think they keep that narrative because it's a secret here.
Yeah, people don't know about that getaway.
Dude, 20 minutes outside of the war zone, 30 minutes outside the war zone, 45 minutes outside of the war zone. Now we're outside the war zone. You're in heaven. There's waterfalls. We're the desert, but we're the high desert. We don't live in Phoenix. We don't live in Arizona. That's not the high desert. We live in the high desert. It's totally different here. So the other day I was on a chat with people, and they were like, oh, this guy's from Canada. You've never seen anything like this. And he showed me a scene that looked like northern New Mexico.
Oh, yeah.
Northern New Mexico is world famous for hunting. There is more game up in northern New Mexico than almost anywhere else, rivaling Alaska. All these big game places. Yep. New Mexico is it. They draw people year round during hunting season.
All over the world.
From all over the world for thousands and thousands of dollars to come hunt in New Mexico. So when people think New Mexico, oh, poor, it's not.
The meth state, stupid stereotypes. They don't know, man.
You should see the spreads that we have in New Mexico. So I said, I'm going to start posting this shit up because I am the floor guy of Burke. There's a lot of floor guys of Burke, but I'm him. So the Floors of Burke page turned from posting up pictures to making videos. When I made a video, I said, I'm going to make another one. People said it was cool. I made 2. Once I made 2, I said, let me do one every few days for this week. Once that week was up, I did one every day. On accident, I did a couple a day.
Okay.
Then week 2 came around. I said, fuck, I'm going to do this again. I did it. I was so motivated. I was so happy. I knew all this stuff. I learned so much. Week 2 came around of filming videos for Floors of Burke. And eventually I realized what I'm doing is I'm making a wood floor vlog, a daily wood floor vlog. And what I did is it sounds just silly, but that was what was in front of me. I had a wood floor vlog that wasn't being filmed because I had lived it for 20 years, 19 years before I said, you know what, let me film this.
Start getting it out there.
I got a broken iPhone 6. Let's start filming this. I started filming it. And then a few weeks in, I said, let me buy a real camera. I bought a real camera. Started filming better. I started studying. 3rd week in, studying, just kind of honing. I was watching videos on how to get good B-roll, watching videos on how to get better at editing, buying better editing software, buying better, and it just
getting everything that you start learning in essentials.
So you start learning. And when I was in California, I finished 5th grade, and I came out here to Albuquerque, and I finished 6th grade, and then I didn't have any more schooling. So what happened is in 7th grade, which is middle school here, in 7th grade, I essentially, the year prior, I had written an essay that was meant to get into a class that was a work study program. So it was for troubled kids. They were going to identify troubled kids and put them into this program. It happened all over the country, and it happens today. It's a work study program. So what happens is during the work study program is you get an abbreviated class schedule, and then you get credits for going to work the rest of the day.
Oh, okay.
So half the day in the morning I would go. In the morning I would go to school. In the afternoon I would go. And because I was so young, I was the youngest person in the program, I couldn't get a paying job, so I could volunteer. And as long as I volunteered, I could get those credits for the rest of my middle school. So what I did is I went to school, and then I went to go volunteer. You know, like 3/4 through the year, maybe halfway through the year, I realized I don't really have to show up to volunteer too much. So I started just doing more work. So what I was doing is I was working with my aunt in the evening, and then when I wasn't working with her, I was selling newspapers outside of the grocery stores. So you'd sell newspapers. You'd stand there and tell people, hey, you want a paper? You want a paper? You want a paper? Paper. And they'd give you their quarters, and then at the end of the night, the journal would split it with you. So they'd sit there on the bus and count it out. $50. Here's your 25 later.
Dope.
So I was making, money, but it was money that we didn't have as a family that I was able to bring in the evening, and I was bored already, and half of my friends were already doing this.
Okay.
So they went to the ghetto on purpose. They parked outside of the middle school, and they said, these are the kids who are going to hustle. They knew it. So the journal, they paid us 25 cents a paper to sell 50-cent papers. And so, and there was kids who would ride their bikes, and they had a route where they would go to businesses and sell papers. And so, I sold papers and would bring home the money. And that was what I started doing. And along with, working with my aunt, and I was just bringing in money that I could.
Yeah. Just like side hustle, just a side hustle.
Just hustle. I was 11, 12. What I did is I went to the New Mexico Department of Labor at 12. Okay. And I didn't call. I went down there at 12 and got my own little ticket, pulled it off of the thing. Doop, and I stood there and I waited, and the lady came up and she goes, Can I help you, son? And I said, I'm 12 and I want to go to work. How do I get a work permit? And she looked at me like I was freaking bonkers. I was 12 though. And I was like, dude, Why can't I make money?
Right.
I've already done it. I've already made money this way. Why don't I just get a real legit job now instead of hustling the newspaper?
Yeah, right. Getting paid under the table.
I was getting paid, it was cash through the journal, and I don't even know how legal that was or whatever. It didn't even matter, but it was money. So I went to the Department of Workforce Solutions, it's called now, but it was the New Mexico Department of Labor back then. And I said, I'm 12 years old. And the lady said, in New Mexico, because we're a farming state, you can get a work permit at 12. You just have to have somebody who will hire you, vouch for you before that.
Oh.
So I said, damn, I got to go find an employer before I can even get the work permit. That's freaking bonkers. Sorry, I don't mean to keep pulling the cord. So what I did is I opened the phone book. We had phone books back then, and I just started flipping through the phone book. Just calling like pet stores and anything. And everybody's like, hey, I said, I would call them and I'd say, hey, I'm a 12-year-old and I want to go to work, and I can get a work permit if you're willing to hire me. I can get a work permit. And it was just no.
Bunch of denies.
No. And then eventually the ice cream truck season started again, and I was getting older. And so what I would do is I'd go work during the summer. I'd go work with my aunt, and then eventually I started working construction around the same time. It was just always like, I was always lining stuff up. So I was 12, 13, and I was already calling. Hey, I call the contractor. Hey, do you need my help tomorrow? Okay, no, I'm gonna go work with my aunt. All right. So I call my aunt. Hey, I'm gonna show up tomorrow, and I'll do the freezer. And the freezer was, we had an ice cream business, so we had an industrial freezer. And the freezer would have fit like 100 of these podcast studios. And it was frozen to it was 28 degrees.
Really?
Yeah, so it was frozen because it was for frozen foods.
Yeah.
For Albuquerque. So we rented part of that freezer warehouse, and our office was off to the side of that. So in the middle of the summer, I would go to work with my big winter jacket. And I was like 12, 13, and I would go and I would pull orders of ice cream from my aunt. And
what they needed for the truck.
Yeah, for the truck. So not just for the truck, but she had the distributorship. She hustled. My aunt was a pretty good hustler. My cousin said she taught us how to be all managers. So she hustled enough to figure out how to get the distributorship, the sole distributorship for Good Humor and Breyers in New Mexico, in Albuquerque. She came from the ghetto. She started off with one ice cream truck. I watched her make that one ice cream truck into a whole distributorship. That whole distributorship turned into 10 trucks, 10 employees, and probably 50 daily customers who would come and purchase ice cream from her. So what we would have to do is we'd have to wake up early, and we'd have to go pull the orders from the night before, put them on a cart. Then customers would start to arrive when we opened about 10 or 11. At that point, we would go and we would start loading up customers' ice cream in their own vehicle. And we would have to go through and make sure everything was checked off and
accounted for and everything.
And so I learned warehouse work at 12. So by the time I was 13, I had 14, I got a job at a Dairy Queen, and the gentleman at the Dairy Queen was a big fan of mine because I worked so hard for him, and he had a driving school. So he said to me one day, I can give you a raise right now because you earned it, or I can help you out as a 14-year-old kid and I give you your driver's license. And he goes, I've already seen you drive for the past 6 months, so I know you can drive.
Dang. So yeah,
because I was already driving. It didn't matter that I didn't have a driver's license. I was already driving. So he gave me the test at the Dairy Queen on a table no bigger than this. And it was a prep table where we would make hamburgers. Before we opened, he goes, here, take this real quick. So I took it. He signed it. I signed it. He took it back. And then a few days later, he came with a learning permit. And that learning permit, I was able to take to the motor vehicle department. And
Yeah, right. Because don't you have to like accumulate a few hours or stuff? You're like, oh, I've been driving for this long, so can I get my license now?
Because of the fact that he's seen that I was driving for 6 months prior to that, or I was driving all over the place because I was driving to work, driving to laundry, driving to the store, driving to go pick up stuff for the Dairy Queen, and that I worked at. So I was like, well, he knew that I was already driving, so he was like, you've already accumulated enough hours to be a safe driver on the road, and you're very comfortable behind the wheel because I've seen you on the road. So he gave me the learning permit, and the learning permit gave me a license. I took back that summer because I worked at Dairy Queen during the winter. I took it back to my aunt during that summer, and I started my own business at 14 is what I like to tell people, because at 14, my aunt allowed me to subcontract a ice cream truck from her, and I brought in 28% of the total gross net. It was one of the two. It was 28% of my daily bring in. Everything I brought in that day, I would take home. So what I would do, 28% in Albuquerque, in Burque. So what I would do is I would take the ice cream truck, and she had each one of her drivers. She had a designated location. So this driver, you're the South Valley guy.
You're doing all this spot.
This driver, you're the Sticks. You're San Jose. You're Barelas. You're the War Zone. You're UNM ghetto, the student ghetto. So we had all these places covered. And she told me, she said, you're the only driver who can go anywhere in the city out of my company. So I was the only driver who could just freaking drive wherever I wanted and sell ice cream. She had already known I had the skills because I came up through the ranks with her. Yeah. Because I was driving in her first ice cream truck, and then now I was driving an ice cream truck for her now that she has a fleet of 10 and the distributorship for New Mexico. So she said, you can go anywhere, but I want you to do me a favor. Every time you go to somebody else's neighborhood, make sure they're there. And if they're not, shoot me a ring and we'll take care of it. So I'd go check on people. And most of the time I'd see everybody there. And when I didn't, I just kind of chalk it up to, hey, they're probably where they're supposed to be. No big deal. There was a few people who were dicks. And I would call my aunt every time I didn't see him on their spot. And I'd say, hey, homeboy's not even there. Fuck this dude. You need to get rid of him.
It's hilarious.
So, it was like, and I was just a young kid. So that was me hustling, trying to bring money into a home that was just welfare. We relied solely on welfare, Section 8, shout out to Section 8, welfare, and my income. And that's what it was as a young child. And so I rode that ice cream truck as much as I could. And then when the winter would come, I'd go find something else to do, which at that point, after I started my own first business at 14, getting 28% off the ice cream truck, I would go, I was well known, I would see the same people in all the same places every day.
Yeah, they were waiting for you, right?
Yeah, it was the same kids and stuff, and I'd be like, "What's up?" And then it would be the homies, and hey, here's this, we just have fun, and I was, we were a legit ice cream truck business. We weren't selling drugs, we weren't selling anything crazy. What we were doing is we'd sell to every drug dealer, though. We'd sell them bags of popcorn, bags of chicharrones,
everything,
bags of candy, sodas.
¿Quieres los chicles? Aquí tenemos chicles.
Tenemos las dulces. We have pelon pelo ricos. We got all the Mexican candies. We got the tambarindo.
Dude, freaking fake Fox account was like ice cream enforcer. Good story. Respect, dog. Respect.
Yeah. So we would bring supplies. That's why I said earlier we brought supplies into the ghetto for the people who are posted up. And when I say posted up, what happens is when you sell crack on the corner, you don't leave that corner, because if you leave,
somebody else is coming.
Somebody's going to swoop up your corner, dog, and then you're going to come back and fight for your corner again just because you wanted to go get McDonald's. Fuck that. These guys don't eat. They get clucks to bring them food.
Yeah, that's
and so what'll happen is they'll tell one cluck, hey, you got to bring me some McDonald's next time you come through, homie. Or if not, I'm not going to serve you up, dog. So you bring me McDonald's, and then so that one dude bring McDonald's, and then next thing you know, he's getting popped. In the war zone, there was a block from Zuni to Bell, and it was the block of San Pedro. You can Google that right now. You can go on Google Maps, Zuni and San Pedro, and then people would go from Zuni to San Pedro down to Bell, and that block was where you would buy crack.
Dude.
So when I was very young, this was before I moved out of the ghetto and went to go work, like I was just saying, at Dairy Queen and all that. So when I was very young, when I had just first moved there, when I kind of met you, 11 and 12, the ice cream truck closed down at like 9:30 or something like that, right? Sometimes we'd go late till 10 because they were cruising all over the war zone. But after that, I had a couple bucks in my pocket. And so what I would do is I'd go buy crack. Don't get it twisted, guys. So I'd go give my Cuban homie, $10, and he'd throw me 2 double ups. So what the double up is, it's a $20 rock. Okay,
a double up.
A double up. So I got a boulder of crack, and I'm like 11. All right. And so what I take my boulder of crack and I split it down the middle because it's
supposed to be 2 of them.
It's two double ups, so it's a 40 piece. He just sold it for me for 10 because I'm the vato off of the fucking ice cream truck. I even speak Spanish. I learned some Spanish from the Cubans even to get better acquainted with them. So I buy $40 worth of crack off the Cubans. You hear that, people? I was an 11-year-old kid. I bought $40 worth of crack off the Cubans, not to smoke, not even to smoke. And I was smart enough to. Then the Cuban guy, he said, here, mira, lo vas a cortar así, ¿ok? Mira, cuando lo cortas así, ahí están 2 por 20, y cuando lo cargas, si quieres, dale los 2 por 30, y te regresan a ti, ¿ok? So what I just said for everybody who doesn't know Spanish is I would say, the Cuban guy would say, here, cut it just like this, so you get 2 of them. You could sell 2 of them for 20, or if you want your customers to come back to you, you sell it to them for 30, 2 for 30. So I just spent $10. Best case. Worst case, I'll get $30 for the $10 that it is. So I would take my ice cream truck money, and I would go buy crack, and I'd chop it, and I'd go sell it to the people rolling up. Now, don't get it twisted. Not everybody could do this.
Dude.
Nobody could just walk up, buy crack, and then resell it.
Right.
That wasn't the game. But if you're from the hood, and your face,
you got cred.
Your face is in the hood every day. Bringing supplies, bringing sodas, and hooking people up. When your face is there, I'd give penny candies to the kids who'd run up with no cash, bro. We had a specific bowl of penny candy that my aunt would buy from the distributors, and that was specifically for the kids who didn't have anything. That eventually, when we got bigger, when I was riding my own ice cream truck because I was making money, that turned into the 25-cent, 50-cent pops. So off of my truck, the poorest kids that rolled up with no money, they would get the 50-cent pops. And that's because I was like, bro, you can take 50 cents of my money we just made 28%. We're at 14. I'm making 28%. I'm rolling. So let's just give some fucking...
Give it back.
Give it back to the community. Let's give a couple to homeboy. Let's give a couple to this kid, a couple to that kid. So I would hook it up. I would hook it up to the poor kids, because there was always kids who rolled up with nothing. Then I would take my ice cream truck money. I'd go buy 2 boulders of crack, and then I learned how to sell it. The person rolls up. You make sure you get the money first, and you give them the crack. That's textbook. So when you're standing there on San Pablo, dude.
San Pablo,
not San Pedro.
San Pablo. I grew up on that street too, man. So it's crazy.
If when you were driving down San Pablo, on one end of San Pablo was cops, and they would watch us sell crack all night. The police, APD, would sit there,
watch
us sell crack to all kinds of people. The people would drive past them and go home, and every once in a while they'd pop one of them. It was like cat and mouse. It was like the cats were sitting there while the mice were coming out of the hole, and they were just like,
not this one, that one. Let's go for it.
So
let's get them, boys.
And then every once in a while, when they wanted to close us down, they'd drive in and chase after us like they were going to arrest us. Duh. It was weird. It was just strange. And then I was 11-year-old kid just hustling my bike home like, oh fuck. I just made $90. And then, on good nights, you can make a couple bucks. And I learned that as a 12-year-old kid. So eventually I took the skills I learned from selling crack cocaine, and I applied it to getting a job and trying to find work. And then I eventually got to construction, and construction 24 years ago. It's fed me ever since, So I got to construction, and we moved out of the war zone. So it was a different community too. When we moved in, It had changed, and during that change, we were there. So while it was changing, we were there, and while it was evolving and turning into other things, I was there. I was in it. I was in the muck selling crack. I was 11-year-old selling crack.
Like, dude, that's intense, dude. Because thinking about it right now, dude, like all that time, all this shit is going on too. Like that shit was everywhere, dude, everywhere. Like, imagine like territory beefs and like people selling over other territories and like
so that's a whole nother thing too.
That's crazy, man.
Is guys would come in and they were there last week and they get jealous and next thing you know there's gunshots, dude.
Yeah, dude, I remember that shit.
And there'd be fucking people clearing out. And then another thing I remember too is there's these church groups, bro. They would come and protest crack dealers. And then when they would protest crack dealers, sometimes the crack dealers were people who would help out the community. So when there was a guy who lived in apartment A and a fourplex that we lived in apartment number 4 in or whatever, A, B, C, D. We lived in D, he lived in A. And so I remember there was church groups who would come protest him. And so they would come and they would be protesting. And I remember one time specifically, I got so fed up with him because this guy just paid our rent. The crack dealer that lived in A paid our rent because I was helping him out for like a while and helping him go to the store and stuff like that.
See, and that's what's crazy to think about, dude, is because even in like big drug Mexican cartels, dude, they help out the little cities. They're like, hey, let me build roads here for you guys. Let me help at least give food back to the community here. I know we do a lot of shady shit and stuff, but like
it's a weird dichotomy because the crack dealer that the church group that the church wouldn't help us is the church isn't going to pay our rent.
Yeah, they're not thinking that way.
But the crack dealer, he said, here, I know you guys, my mom told him, hey, I don't have rent this month and we're probably going to move out. And he goes, no, you guys have to stay here. I like you guys. Here's your rent for this month. And then so a couple days after that, they came and protested him. And I said, fuck these people, man. That's fucked up. This dude he's a fucking angel. We're home because he's here. And so I walked out and just lights just as bright as these, bro. They had lights and they were chanting some bullshit. And I walked right out in front of them. And I remember the police were there because the police would escort these groups of protesters into the ghetto, and they would escort them out because it's dangerous. You're in the ghetto.
Bad, yeah.
So groups of protesters would come to the front of our apartment complex, and I got so fed up with them one day that I walked out there, and I looked them all in the eye. And I looked behind me, and I looked, and somewhere out there is a photographer who got a picture. Speaking of photography, there's a photographer who got a picture of a little boy. A little boy. That was a pretty big kid, but still a young kid, looking at maybe 2 dozen, maybe 3 dozen protesters with signs and yelling at me. And they kind of like realized after a few minutes to stop because they're yelling at a kid now. And I felt so vindicated because I felt like I helped my friend, the drug dealer. And the drug dealer, you know, he just paid my rent. I couldn't do anything. I was a poor kid. What I could do there is I could look at all these people in the eye. And I don't know if it conveyed something to them. Like, okay, maybe this kid's kind of saying, hey, you know, this is my neighbor. These are good people. Or maybe, I don't know what it was, but they left.
That's what's up, man.
They left. And it had, I don't know if it had anything to do with me, but I remember standing there in front of lights brighter than these and just intense yelling, protesting. They're so mad at the guy. He's known in the community as a drug dealer.
As the guy, yeah.
So it was one of those magical war zone moments.
That's one of those things, though, man. You can't really judge a book by its cover.
So whenever you see somebody like Angelito or myself, you know, we came from real struggle, and I didn't choose that. It wasn't like I said, let me make all these bad life decisions before I'm 11 to get to the war zone.
Right. I want to live here. Like, so, that doesn't happen.
Again, let's segue. Now that we have that segue. So what got me to the war zone? And I asked you this question last night, right before you said,
let's not talk about this.
We're doing this podcast tomorrow. And before 24 hours ago, 22 hours, or what would it be? 26 hours ago, I had no idea I was going to do a podcast. And here we are. So the reason I'm here in Albuquerque is I like to say witness protection. And when I say witness protection, it's not like we ratted on anybody. But what we did is we went into our own hiding because the police wanted us to rat on people. And so what was going on is back in the 90s. So we'll start from the beginning. Is where I was born to a mom who didn't really know who fathered her husband or her son. It was a one-night stand. Some guy came in on a motorcycle and with a bunch of homies, and they chilled with these people, and my mom was with those people, and they conceived me that night. And the dude on the Harley got back on his Harley in the morning
and just left.
And left, not knowing he had just conceived a child with this lady, with this girl. She was 18. She was a young girl.
Yeah.
And so this was in Montana. So this dude was doing, Sturgis and North Dakota or whatever the hell it is that he was doing then. And he was cruising. He was cruising the country on his hog, and he got laid. And back then, you don't really wear protection, nothing like that. So this was
next spot, next place,
next chick. So I probably have a bunch of brothers and sisters. There's a big theory in my family that my niece brought up, and she showed me a bunch of pictures of a couple very famous celebrities that they think I look like a lot. And I'm not going to mention any names. It was just pretty funny. It was good times.
Well, Guitar Slinger says you sound like Tito Ortiz, so.
So Dad was probably out there setting up franchises. So when it comes down to it, we'll start from the beginning. Like I said, I was born to a biker who didn't exist anymore. My mom thinks his name was a Martinez. And there was a debate in my family within the last 5 years about this whole thing because they said Kelly. They were talking about a Kelly, a gentleman by the last name of Kelly. And so my aunt and my cousin, they came to me and they said, yeah, it's Kelly, dude. It was Kelly. It was a dude named Kelly, his last name Kelly. And then I went to my mom one night after we maybe had a little session of medical marijuana. I told her, hey, Mom, I heard that it was Kelly. And she goes, no, it wasn't Kelly. I was dating him and I cheated on him with your dad. And I said, fuck, man, that's heavy shit. And she goes, your dad's name was Martinez. And I had just got a 23andMe done maybe months before.
Holy shit.
And so I went through and when I got the 23andMe, I was looking for my dad. I still am, So when I got the 23andMe, I got the 23andMe and it said that my dad was Spanish, and I was like, Kelly's not Spanish. I don't have any. There's like 1% Irish in my DNA chart on 23andme.com. So I'm like, how the hell does Kelly come into him? So I looked through and I found a Kelly on my 23andMe list, and it was like a really distant cousin. I didn't think anything of it. Put away 23andMe. Sparked a joint with my mom and talked to her about it one Friday night, and she goes, it was Martinez. And it was Martinez. I said, all right. So I went back and I looked through my freaking 23andMe, and the first 4 dozen were Martinez's.
Holy shit.
And Leybas and Trujillos and stuff like that. And I said, well, that makes more sense, Mom. Hello. So as I kept diving further in, we just don't know. I don't know him. We don't know. So my mom, she was pregnant, and my dad, my grandfather, her dad, was a drug and alcohol specialist. His wife, my mother's mom, my real grandmother, my biological grandmother, she committed suicide when my mom was 3 years old. She committed suicide because she was pregnant with another man's child, apparently, and my grandfather would beat her.
Damn.
He was a severe drunk. So my grandfather would beat my grandmother, and she shot herself in the stomach with a shotgun. And they assume that it's because she was pregnant with another man's baby. And this was back in the late 60s. So my grandmother shoots herself, and my mom's 3. Now my grandfather, who's a severe alcoholic, has these 4 children and he's an alcoholic, so he quits drinking. My grandfather quits drinking, and he pursues his degree. Meanwhile, the state wants to take away the children, so a white nurse comes along. This white nurse is named Denise Rochelle. Right now, that's her name. She took my grandfather's name when they got married. The reason they got married was so that Denise, the white nurse, could take care of the 4 kids who were just about to be orphaned. So my mother and her 3 siblings were going to be orphaned, and the white nurse came along, married my grandfather for that reason and that reason alone. If you ask her today, that's what it was, and that's my grandma niece. She's a white lady. She doesn't look like my grandma. She doesn't look like our family because she's not. But she's my grandma, and I love her to death.
So she did something.
She took those 4 kids. She took her income. She took her house, and she brought them into her world as a good person would. When she did that, then my mother grew up with a stepmom and my grandfather, and she got pregnant at a very young age. Like I said, 18.
Keep it going, man. I gotta let this dog out.
No, let the dog out, dude. It's cool. So at a very young age, at 18, she gets pregnant. When she gets pregnant, my grandfather at this point was a drug and alcohol specialist. He would go around the country and he'd set up drug and alcohol programs to rehabs. Okay, basically he would go around and set up rehabs. He would do the administration. He'd find buildings. He'd do the rent. He'd do all the administrative stuff, get the entire rehab set up and rolling, find a director, and he would bolt to the next town. So that's what he was doing. So my mom would and her siblings moved from town to town. That's how we got to Wisconsin. So my mom was impregnated in Montana. For the next 9 months, he set up a couple rehabs, and he made his way to Wisconsin. When we were in Wisconsin, he was setting up a rehab, and my mother had me. She had me in Woodruff, Wisconsin. Woodruff, Wisconsin.
Okay.
We were at the time living in Fond du Lac, and Woodruff was the nearest hospital. I was born C-section. This was before cesarean. This was before sonograms. So what had happened is they had noticed that there was a situation, and they needed to cut me out immediately. So they did. They cut me out of my mom's stomach, and once they cut me out, they noticed that the umbilical cord was wrapped around my neck. They were pretty sure I was dead. They unwrapped the cord from my neck, and my lungs had collapsed. So my lungs collapsed. Okay. I was born to a world that was choking me out to the point where my lungs collapsed. So I was born into a world with no father. I was born into a world with no home, no nothing. My mom was living with her dad. And I was born into a world that was already trying to kill me. I had my umbilical cord wrapped around my neck.
There's already struggles.
So they cut me out, C-section, and they didn't hand me to my mother. They held me up in the doorway, my mom says, and they asked her, before we take him out of this room, we need a name. It's some official government shit.
Oh, shit.
So we need a name. Before we hurry, we need a name. She said she looked at me. She looked at me. And she said she recognized me. She goes, and she told the nurse, that's Joshua. She said, I was all fucked up. They just ripped you out of me. You were dying. There's a whole much going on. And they asked me, who is this baby? And I looked at you, she said, and I recognized you. And she said, that's Joshua. And they put me on a helicopter and flew me to Madison, Wisconsin.
Holy shit.
I didn't get to touch my mother when I came out of the womb, ripped by knife with a thing around my neck. I didn't get to touch my mother for days. What they did is they threw me in a helicopter. They flew me to Madison, Wisconsin. And
Just probably hooked you up with a bunch of stuff, right?
They cut me. So I have a hole. I have a scar here. I have an equal size scar here. My belly button is deformed right now because as a baby, they cut me open to put tubes into my abdomen area. Oh, so I had tubes this big. I was this big, and they had tubes in me this big. They had tubes in me going down to keep my lungs inflated, and they had a tube in my stomach. So right now, if I tuck in my shirt too much, you see an indentation in the middle. And it's all because of the surgeons. When they sewed me back up and I grew, they already had a big old scar. So I have a scar underneath my belly button that goes from the belly button to the top of my pubic area. And it's a scar where they put tubes into me to make sure I lived. And then they took the fluid out of my lungs. They reinflated my lungs. And then 3 days later, my mom showed up. And through some plexiglass, because she finally seen me. And then so at that point, my grandfather was already like, you're not living here. I'm not taking care of you and your baby. And you think you're going to live off of me for free. There's no freeloaders here. So what did she do? She called up the white nurse. The white nurse and my grandfather at that point were divorced because she couldn't take his bullshit anymore, she said. So the white nurse left teenagers that she found as kids. She left those teenagers now. And she said, bon voyage. I'm going to California. I need to go be me. I'm going to go be a hippie in California. So she was a hippie in San Francisco.
That's so cool, man. That's dope.
So my mom reached out to her. She called her and said, hey, Mom, Dad's going to kick me out. I have my baby. What are we going to do? So my grandma said, you're going to come move to California with me. That's what you're going to do. I'll send you a train ticket right now. So we got on a train for 3-4 days or something, and went from Wisconsin to California. She lived in Santa Rosa.
Damn. And that's where that started.
So that's how I got from being conceived in Montana, born in Wisconsin, kept alive in Madison for the first 3-4 days of my life, and I should be dead. You get it, folks? I should be dead. Right now, people are thinking I have this whole new lease on life because of Corona. As I was told these stories as a young kid in the war zone, and before that, I was always realizing to myself that I personally have a second chance at life, and that was my first one. My first chance at life was pretty much taken, and then I got a second chance at life because I was reborn. I was given life again because I was killed. The world killed me, and they didn't kill me. I came back, folks. You can't kill me. And the world tried, and that was day one. So whenever I see these struggles in front of me, I don't freak out. And whenever I see these mean people in front of me, I don't freak out.
Or when you even see people with their struggles and you're like, are you really complaining about a struggle like that?
Man, it's really hard for me to watch kids nowadays and these young people complain about so much, and I think COVID right now has helped us, kind of realize, hey, we should be going outside. We should be enjoying each other's, our relationships. We should be valuing more and stuff like that.
Camaraderie and all that shit.
I had that since day one, man, because of the fact that I was supposed to be dead. I was dead. They killed me. The world killed me. So my grandma, the white nurse goes and says, you're going to move with me to Santa Rosa, California. There we go. I'm 6 months old. I moved to Santa Rosa, California. My mother at that point goes to cosmetology school to become a cosmetologist. Cosmetologist, for those who don't know, is a person who does hair, women's hair. So while she's living with her stepmother, the white nurse, Denise Rochelle, she is going to school to become a hairstylist. And my grandmother and her sister are watching me, or my grandmother and my great-grandmother, Denise, and her mom were watching me during the day while my mom would go to cosmetology school. And eventually my mom graduated cosmetology school, and she went to go cut hair in the big city. She went to go cut hair in San Francisco. So in San Francisco, she started to establish herself as one of the premier hairstylists.
That's dope.
When she was doing that, she met a lady named Sally Maxfield. Sally Maxfield had a son that she adopted because she couldn't have children. Sally Maxfield's son was Walter. What happened is Sally Maxfield would go to my mom to get her hair done every week. Every week, my mom would do this lady's hair, and eventually this lady said, I have a son that I think wouldn't mind going on a date with you. My mom went on a date with Sally Maxfield's son, Walter Maxfield. Walter Maxfield was my stepdad at that point. They got married. I remember the wedding. I was probably about 3 or 4. I was the ring bearer. Walter Maxfield and my mom got married 85, 86 maybe. So now, for the first time in my life, I'm 4 years old and I have a home. I have a father. So some of my earliest memories are of actually decent times. You know, I went from almost dying to my mom working hard and then eventually finding a husband, and then we found stability in that husband, and his name was Walter Maxfield. Now, Sally Maxfield was my grandma, and I call her grandma because she was my grandma, you know, like because she was Walter's, my stepdad's mom. So Sally Maxfield was independently wealthy. She owned an answering service back in the 70s and 80s. It grew, and by 85, 86, when we found them, they were wealthy.
Dope.
So I went into a wealthy home. My stepdad, we had toys. My stepdad had boats. We had lifted truck. We had a Cadillac, a 60-some Cadillac out front, pimp-ass Cadillac, 4-door. We had means to live. My grandma Sally, she owned an answering service, and what an answering service was before there was internet, you would, if you were a dentist, if you were a lawyer, if you were a doctor, if you were any kind of business, and you would go on vacation, you would have to have somebody, or after hours, you would forward your phone through the operator to the company my grandma owned, my grandma Sally, and you would
get an operator.
You would get somebody to answer the phone and take a message for your business. So if you're in Cancun and you're a doctor for a month, you'll still get all your messages at the end of the month for all your clients that are going to book after you get back. So she had that service in San Francisco in the 70s. Then we found them in the 80s, and we lived it up until my parents divorced probably 3 years later. So I was like 6.5, maybe 7 almost, and they divorced. And I remember that because my whole life was 3, and I started remembering stuff, and it involved Walter, and then they divorced 3 years later, and I was 6. And I remember being 6 and going through a divorce. And so here I am. I was almost killed as a baby, and now I'm 6 years old, and I'm going through a divorce now. And so my mom, and it was for good reason, you know, she divorced Walter because he wasn't abusive in any way. He was just mentally abusive. So he'd tell her shit, and it was just not a good relationship. It was not a healthy relationship. So my mother left.
Damn, that's crazy.
So at 6 years old, we leave the lap of luxury, and my mom says, "Fuck you, I'm going to do this by myself." We get an apartment when we move out of Walter and Sally's big house. This is a decent sized house in Santa Rosa, California.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It wasn't huge, But it was a nice 3 bedroom. It had a den, and it was nice. We had put a hot tub out back, and we poured concrete in the backyard, and it was really nice. It was a really nice place, and giant garage, and so we got an apartment. And so I was 6, 7, and we lived in Rohnert Park, California. And Rohnert Park, California was just it's like 5 minutes outside of Santa Rosa, California. We lived in Rohnert Park and in an apartment, and there was always drama. My mom asked my dad for money to, not alimony, but like she was barely getting on her feet after a divorce, and so she would ask my dad for money, and he would come over and he'd give her money in very odd ways, like throwing it at her or breaking a window and putting it in her car. He was just a very frustrated gentleman. I don't know why, but I have a lot of respect for him still, because he taught me a lot as a kid, and even after they divorced, I was still involved in his life a lot. We ended up going from an apartment, and my mom, for some reason or another, had hard struggles and times got tough, and we ended up in a motel. The motel you would rent for a week or two, and then we did that for a few months, and then we ended up in a homeless shelter. Because the struggle is real. Once my mom went from not having to make a lot of money, her clientele wasn't big, she wasn't cutting hair in San Francisco anymore, to having to support everything now. It was difficult for her. We ended up in a homeless shelter, and I still went and visited Walter. Walter still wanted to take me fishing, and he still wanted to take me doing his stuff, his life. He wanted a son around. Because he was never going to have a son in his own eyes. At that point, he felt that way. So he would take it was a weird dichotomy, because I would wake up in a homeless shelter. And a homeless shelter that we lived in was a motel that was a hacienda style, kind of like you would see in New Mexico or in this desert Southwest, where it's a bunch of little casitas that are connected together in a horseshoe, and you drive into the middle, and there was 50, maybe 30 to 50 units, and you drive in, and each family was given a little unit, and it was an old motel. So it was a motel that the shelter had bought, and they would give each family a little unit every night, and it wasn't always the same people, because people would come and people would go. And one of the things that you would have to do, the stipulations to stay in this homeless shelter, was you had to work everybody, not just the parent, not just dad, not just mom. Everybody. So at 6 or 7 years old, I was out there picking weeds as payment to the homeless shelter for me being allowed to stay there. And then on the days I didn't have to pick weeds, my dad would take me, my stepdad, Walter Maxfield, would take me onto his boat. Now he had like a 30-foot charter boat. There's a giant boat, had a double deck, so you'd walk down to the back, and then you go up, and there was the captain's area, and then if you're on the main deck and you go down, there was a kitchen and a galley, and then a little table, and a bathroom, and a shower. It was a big boat, and he would charter people. So what that means is he would charge people $200-$300 a day to take them out of Bodega Bay in California on his charter boat. People would come from around the world and fish with whomever, and he was one of the charter guys that people would recommend. And so people would come and they would buy a spot on his boat for the day, and me and him, as a 6 and 7 year old, we would drive out to the middle of the ocean, and we'd fish with these people for 4 or 5 hours, and then we'd drive back. We'd pop champagne. We would eat just very nice stuff. My dad always provided lunch for these people, and they were clients. Because we had a kitchen in the boat, he would supply nice food. So we would eat nice food. We would pop champagne. We would drink Pepsis it was caffeine-free Diet Coke all the time. That was my dad's drink of choice. And we were knee-deep in it on the boat. We had, the fridge was stocked full of it. And he had other refreshments for the customers. So we'd have 3, 4, 5. If we were lucky, we'd have 7, 8 people on the boat at a day. Damn. So my dad... So in the morning, I would wake up at a shelter. My stepdad would come pick me up. we would go take these people out to go fishing for the day. My dad would collect money at the end of the day. The sun would go down and we'd go have a steak or crab meal. So I'd go to some of the nicest crab places there were, some of the nicest crab shacks you'd find in Bodega Bay, some of the nicest places you would find in San Francisco Bay. We'd go eat steak. We would go eat lobster.
Surf and turf all day.
We'd go eat crab. We'd go live it up. And then he would drop me back off. If I wasn't lucky enough to spend the night at his house, I would get dropped back off at a homeless shelter to meet up with my mother and to sleep there. And so from a young age, I seen the dichotomy of worlds. I seen people who would never, ever see the inside of some of the restaurants I just came from. I seen people who would never get the experience to go fishing the way we did, off of the back of a 30-foot freaking mini yacht with champagne and rich people. And then I would go at night and I'd go to the homeless shelter. So this continued on for a little while, for about a year. I was just about 8. When I was 8, everything changed. Let's give you a little pause there for a second, people. We're going to take a drink of beer.
Dude, that's crazy. Like, just knowing that your life didn't... So much people have so much history of how their life really is where it is now. Like, yeah. I tell people that too. They're like, oh, you seem so level-headed and so... Dude, it's the struggle that makes you into the person that you're in today.
Yeah, and it's a trip. And this is stories that I've been telling a lot of people for a long time. I've been telling people because I spend a lot of time with people just doing, driving and working, and I spend a lot of time with people. So I tell these stories. I tell these stories all the time because there's always value in it. There's people will learn from my stories. So I'm 8. We won't get off track. We'll stay on track. I was 8. So at 8 years old, my mother got us out of the homeless shelter, and she got us into a place that she rented. And when she did that, she met a gentleman by the name of Crescencio. Now, Crescencio was a Mexican national from Michoacan, Mexico. Aguascalientes, Michoacan. So, from the age of 8, I went from the life of a charter boat child and a homeless kid. I lived both of those lives at the same time. At the life of 8, I went into the life of cocaine in California in the early 90s, which led me to New Mexico. So at the age of 8, what happened is my mother found a gentleman and she started dating that gentleman. His name was Crescencio Jimenez. Crescencio Jimenez, he fathered my brother Papi. So Angelito knows who Papi is because Papi is
our same age. We're the same age pretty much.
Papi's 8 years younger than I am.
Yeah, we grew up kind of like, he was like my friend, and then you were the older brother. Like, oh, that's your older brother, the guy, the bigger guy. But
I was the older brother, and you guys were the same age. You got another one of these or what?
Let's do it. Or no, yeah, go for it.
There you go. So you could put that one down there so it's not looking annoying. So at age 8, my mother found a gentleman named Crescencio, and they had my brother. Now, when they had my brother, they also built an empire. When we decided last night that we're going to do this podcast, I kind of debated all day whether I was going to tell this or not, but I'm going to tell it because it's the truth, and it doesn't hold any bearing to who we are today other than the fact that this is where we came from. So if you guys know who El Chapo is.
Yeah, that is famous, dude. Everybody's been fucking.
So you guys know who El Chapo is. You guys know who Lebron is, right? Did they have his floor?
Right.
He's a little basketball player.
So you guys know the story dynamics of the people in it.
All right. So now we're friends with El Chapo. He wasn't named El Chapo back then. He would come over and eat menudo at our house.
And that was because of the relationship with your mom's husband.
Yep. My mom's current husband at this time when I'm 8, his name is Crescencio. He comes from Aguascalientes, Michoacan, and he is a drug dealer.
And he has ties with El Chapo.
He has ties with El Chapo. Now, my mom, on the other hand, she was selling cocaine to other people. So both ends, they were selling cocaine, they had like this mutual respect for one another as drug dealers, and you know, it turned hot and heavy, and they had a kid, and so there's 2 drug dealers in the house now. 2 drug dealers. My mom, she would sell drugs to, and this was when I was 8. After I seen all that, I was 8, and I seen lawyers coming to the house.
Yeah,
guys that had advertisements on TV would show up to the door and buy large amounts of cocaine from my mom and her husband. And so my mom would buy cocaine from Griselda Blanco, Cocaine Cowboys. There's a lot of you out there who know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, check out that documentary. I've wanted to so bad.
So Cocaine Cowboys is about Griselda. Griselda was in Miami, and she ended up in the early 90s wanting to take over the drug distributors. She wanted to take over the territory in California, specifically San Jose, and that's where we would go get our cocaine from. So my mom bought from Griselda, and her boyfriend bought from El Chapo.
Damn. So that's competing already.
Well, this is what happened. This is where we get into trouble. So the way any retail business works is the supplier gives you stock. Then you sell that stock at your store. Then you pay the distributor, the supplier, for what they gave you. So basically you get money. I mean, you get drugs, you sell it for money, and then the foam off the top of that money you keep, and then you give the bulk of it to the person who sold you the drugs. So you're making a decent amount of money, but they're really making a lot of money. So what they did is they were selling a lot of drugs, and then they decided, hey, we need to find somebody who's cheaper. So they talked to some dude that they knew. They sold to everybody, bro. And when I say everybody, I mean Hell's Angels.
Like a bunch of people there.
There was lawyers, doctors, people who owned restaurants. We would go to these nice restaurants and get treated like freaking royalty because the owner would pop out, and that's the lady who gets some drugs. And so me and my mom, she would go jet set, and we would go to these really nice restaurants for lunch and have this really like posh Northern California lunch, wine country lunch. And all on the house because my mom was the one getting them cocaine. So they found a guy who was going to get it to them cheaper than they were getting it. So that when I say cheaper, I don't know exactly how much they were getting it for, but they were going to get a key for something like 10 grand or something.
Something cheaper.
So, and I could be wrong. These are numbers that I'm not familiar with. I'm not a cocaine dealer currently, and I never have been really. I did it when I was 11, and I left that life behind by the time I turned 12. So they got their money together, and it was money that they owed. So the money that they made, they owed this money to drug dealer A or B. I can't remember which one it was. And they took that money, and they went to go take it to drug dealer C. And drug dealer C told them, let's meet at the Toys R Us, and we'll do the exchange there. So they meet at the Toys R Us. My mom says that she looked across the parking lot, and she's seen a guy get out of a car in a trench coat, and pull out a badge and a gun and start running towards them. And she said it was so far away that nothing had happened yet. So in Spanish, she told Crescencio, throw the money in the car. So he threw the money in the car. He threw $8,500 in the car. 87, something like that. They didn't have the full 10.
A big amount.
So they were going to tell what they were going to do is they were going to tell the guy, we don't have the 10. Let us take the drugs. In a few hours, we'll come back with your other $1,300 or whatever the hell it is that we owe. So they went to go do the deal. Ended up being DEA.
Damn.
So they got busted. But they didn't get busted doing too much. You get my drift? They didn't have them on much.
Yeah.
So that night in jail, my mom, before the whole thing went down, I was 8 almost 9 at this point. And I knew what was going on. I knew what was up. There's nothing that was secret to me in my life, in my world. There was no secrets.
Yeah, you already knew what was going on.
So I told my mom when she was leaving that day, I had a funny feeling. I'm an 8 or 9-year-old kid. I'm a 9-year-old kid. And I told her, I don't feel right about this one, Mom. I don't know exactly what the deal is, but this one don't feel right. It might have been the vibes that they were giving off because it was the first time they dealt with this person. So when I got a phone call, we had a nanny because we were rolling in dough. We also had a security guard. The security guard lived out front. He was imported directly from Michoacan. He was a cousin to Crescencio. And he was brought to America specifically to be security for us because we were selling so much drugs. So he was there, and the nanny was there. We had a nanny because we were selling so much drugs. They'd just pay these people. They'd pay both these people to be there all day. So the nanny would make us food, and she would clean. And this was like for about a year, 6 months or so. It wasn't very long. They go buy the drugs, and they get busted. Then she calls me. My mom calls and talks to our nanny real quick for a little bit, and then she tells her, put Josh on the phone. And my brother, at this point, he's about a year old. Maybe he's like 8 months. I figured out he was 8 months old. And he's 8 months old, and she calls me from jail. And I talked to her. I said, hey, Mom, I told you. She goes, I know. She goes, I want you to do me a favor. And I said, all right. She goes, take the baby and take the diaper bag and go to Mara's. Mara was her friend. I said, okay. She goes, they're gonna come search the pad. So it's better that you guys are not there when it happens. So make sure you take the diaper bag and put it full. Get all the diapers and fill it up, okay? And make sure you get all the diaper stuff and put it in the diaper bag. And take your brother. And Jose Luis is going to take you over to Mara's. Jose Luis is our security guy.
The guard, yeah.
So I get off the phone with her, and everything she told me was code. I don't know if you guys deciphered any of it, but nobody in jail did, no officers, no DA, nobody else did. It was just a code that me, a 9-year-old kid, and my mom had. The code was the diaper bag. Now, if you guys were listening to this conversation I just described, you'll hear the part about a diaper bag. My mom didn't use a diaper bag for the baby. My mom used a diaper bag for drugs. My mom used a diaper bag for the triple beam, for the cocaine, and for the weed. The diaper bag also contained baggies to put said products in when you distribute it. The baggies in various sizes, shapes. The triple beam is dirty. The weed is plentiful, and there's a lot of cocaine. So I get my baby brother ready. I start commanding people. I am 8. DEA is on their way. I'm 9 maybe. I'll give myself a little credit. So I'm 9 years old and I'm telling bodyguards and nannies what to do. And I'm getting myself prepared as well. I tell the nanny, get my brother changed and get him ready to go to Mara's. My mom didn't have this conversation with the nanny. She didn't have that conversation with the security guy. She had this conversation with me because I was already 9 and I've already been through a lot. So she has this conversation with me about the diaper bag, and I go and I take the diaper bag and I fill it with every little bit of any kind of evidence that the police could find. And I take my little brother and the diaper bag in my other hand, and I'm talking about my little brother in a carrier. There's a baby seat, okay? It clips into the car when you drive somewhere. So I have my brother in a baby seat. I tell the security guard, you're going to take us to Mara's. I know where it is. I'll show you where it's at. In my right hand, I have a diaper bag. And it looks like it's brimming with diapers and clothes. But it's not. The top layer is maybe a dozen diapers. Everything else underneath those dozen diapers is a triple beam, is cocaine, is marijuana, and evidence paraphernalia. I cleared the house out of all the stuff that they could take. There was money. There was, they took most of the money, so it wasn't like I had to worry about a lot of that. But there was stuff here and there. There was stuff. And I cleaned it out good. I told the security guard, let's go. Half a block away from our house, a white Crown Victoria followed us until we arrived at Mara's, where it stopped a block from her house and watched us get out. I unloaded the baby and I unloaded the diaper bag. I told Jose Luis, I said, I'll call you as soon as I need you again. I don't think you should go to the house. Maybe you should go to the compa's house and chill for a little while. So the compadre, he went to the primo, he went to the compadre's house. The house is empty. DEA comes in and they ransack it. Meanwhile, I walk into Mara's house with the other Crown Vic who followed me. The detectives there, they decided that I wasn't anybody of interest and all I was doing was taking the baby. And they left. And they followed Jose Luis. At this point, I have thousands of dollars worth of drugs and I just walked into this lady's house after my mother was busted by the DEA. And now I'm 9 years old and I tell her this is what is going on. I tell her, Mom's busted. The DEA got her. She looks in the diaper bag and says, what the fuck is wrong with you? Why the fuck are you bringing this shit here? What is fucking wrong with you? I'm 9 and I say, nothing is wrong with me. This is the smartest thing I've done. You need to get this the fuck out of here now. All right? So I'm 9. My mom just got busted by DA. She called me and told me that. The DA is ransacking my room. I don't even have a bed. I got a mattress on the floor. We're pretty rich, but it's only been new. When you're rich, you're scared to go. But when you're rich from drugs money, when drug money is what you have, you're scared to go spend it because it's all fleeting. Yeah. The whole life, the whole existence is fleeting. There's people getting killed for the same drug dealing. There's people getting, disappearing. So it's all fleeting. I had a bed on the ground and DA is ransacking my house. I just walked into the lady's house with a bag full of fucking drugs, triple beam, and my little brother. And she's telling me, get the fuck out of here. Take this drugs and get the fuck out of here. I don't know what the fuck you're going to do, but get the fuck out of here.
Dude, and that's probably intense too. Thinking about that, it's just like, fuck. What's going on through your head right now? I mean, you're literally doing what you think is right, but yet you have somebody else telling you like,
not what I think is right. What I know is right and what I was told to do. When it comes to the drug life, I'll tell you one more story after this that happened previously because we were being watched for a long time. So, but let me finish this story and then we'll go to that one just as a kicker. So this lady tells me, get the fuck out of my house with this drugs. So she lives in a ghetto, and at the end of the ghetto is a 7-Eleven. I look outside, and no more Crown Vic. Nobody, really. Nobody. So I take the diaper bag, and I start walking towards the 7-Eleven, not knowing what the fuck I was going to do. I have all this drugs, and I'm walking down the road. I'm 9. My brother's safe. I'm cool. That's all right. Cool. Mom's in jail. I got all these drugs. What do I do? I'm walking to the 7-Eleven. The 7-Eleven's getting closer. And I look to my left, and there's an abandoned apartment complex. It's boarded up. There's not homeless people living there or nothing. It's just boarded up. And there's overgrown bushes everywhere. And I grab that bag, diaper bag, and I roll it. And I shove it in a bush. And I walk to 7-Eleven and I get a Slurpee and I get some candy because I had cash. You know, we sold drugs, bro. I always had cash. I walk back to Mars and I have fucking a Slurpee and some candy and I'm like ready to watch Rocky. You know, they would always watch Rocky. And I was so calm at that point. You could see that it was just a weight lifted off my shoulder at that point, you know. And she looks at me fucked up and she goes, "What did you do with it? What did you do with it? Let me see it now." Because at this point, she realized I want to do some of these fucking drugs.
Oh, okay. She, like, took time to process it.
At first, she was like, "Get this out of my house." But now she's like, "I want to get fucking stoned. I got all the drugs in the world for free. We might as well get high." And she goes, "Where is it? Where is it? Let me see it." I said, I stashed it. Like, I hid it. You told me to fucking get rid of it. Everybody stashed it. I stashed it. It's gone. It's gone. It's stashed. It's gone, lady. All night. We stayed the night there. She woke me up at midnight. "Hey, what'd you do with that bag? Hurry up and tell me." She woke me up at 2. I wasn't sleeping really, you know, because my mom's in jail.
You're just laying there.
In Mara's house. Like, this lady's house. Like, it's not even, like, comfortable or nice or anything. It's just another house in the ghetto because that's where my mom told me to go. And at least my brother's there and we're cool. And we're under a roof and we're fine, you know. And she keeps waking me up 4 a.m. "Where's that bag? Where's that bag?" It's hidden, lady. So the next day goes through and she stops bugging me about the bag. And the next night comes and we stay the night again. And my mom's going to get released. It's only been a day. And usually for stuff like that, you don't get released that quick. But what they did is the cops told her, "Hey, you know, if you rat on the people that you're getting from, if you rat on these people, you get some reduced sentence. We'll let you go." So my mom says, "Sounds good. Sounds good." And they didn't make her sign anything. They didn't make her obligate anything. They just released her. They said, "We'll be in touch. You know, you're gonna have to give us statements. You're gonna have to tell us who's who. We're gonna figure out how to use you to take down the next tier." My mom says, "All right, cool, all right. That's what we got to do. Sounds good. I got 2 kids at home. Let's do this."
Yeah.
So she goes home and she loads us up into a fucking car in the middle of the night and drives to New Mexico. What's up? We leave. The cops didn't get no info. So when I say witness protection, it was for our own protection so we didn't have to be witnesses. Because the cops wanted us to be witnesses for El Chapo. The cops wanted us to be witnesses against Griselda Blanco. Griselda Blanca and El Chapo would have had us killed like that. My mom wasn't going to rat on those people. It would have been a death sentence for all of us.
So she just booked it.
We booked it in the middle of the night. We booked it.
And to think, out of all the places, you ended up here.
We had an aunt who lived here. She had a husband on the Jemez Pueblo. That was Jemez.
Damn.
And so she lived here. So we had a place to come that nobody knew about, New Mexico.
Yeah.
People always joke about how you can disappear witness protection style in New Mexico. That's what my mom did. And I think my mom always had that in the back of her head. So when the cops let her out, she comes to Mara's. You know, I'll go backwards a little bit. I apologize, people, for kind of giving you the Pulp Fiction style. But, you know, when she gets out of jail, after I'd spent a couple nights at Mara's house, and Mara bugging me for drugs, my mom gets out of jail, and she goes, "What'd you do with that bag?" You know, me and my mom are tight. We're real tight. You know, I grew up fast. We had been through a lot. We had a new baby, or you know, kind of like our family was 3 now. It was me and my mom, and now it's 3. Me and my mom and Papi. And we call him Papi because that's his name. Don't get it twisted. Just like Angelito. We got Papi, we got Angelito. We're representing. We're from the ghetto. We don't fucking call people Brian and Todd.
Angel.
Angel. That's an Americanized name for Angelito. So she realizes, hey, you know, I gotta when I get out, I got resources because Josh, he hid the stuff. She doesn't know anything yet. She doesn't know Mara yelled at me.
Try to get it out of you.
She doesn't know Mara doesn't have it. She doesn't know anything. She's just getting out of jail. She comes to me. She goes, "Hey, what'd you do with that bag?" They didn't find anything. They told me. They were very upset they didn't find anything. And they told me that while I was in jail. Because they pressured me to tell them where it went.
Yeah.
Because they know I had drugs in the house. And they said, she said that when she was behind bars, she's in a white room. And the detectives are telling her all this nonsense. She knew that we fucked them. We said, fuck you, and threw him a middle finger because I fucking took all of it, dog. I took all those drugs, and I fucking stashed them from everybody.
And they would just, like...
They had no idea.
Don't know what the fuck happened.
Dude, they had, all they seen was me and my brother go to a fucking lady's house.
And that just seemed like a casual thing, right? Some shit, drugs, shit's going down. We got to take the kids. That's no big deal.
They left. Boom, I had all the drugs. So my mom gets out of jail. So whenever I watch, like Goodfellas.
Yeah.
And he goes, we needed the money, Karen. We needed the money. When I seen that the first time, I said, you know what? I didn't fuck up like Karen. I didn't throw it and flush it all down the toilet. I stashed that shit. And I laughed because that drug dealing shit that you see on Goodfellas was true because... And I had lived it, so whenever I seen it, I was watching it with a bunch of kids who thought they were gangsters.
Oh, yeah. That's the worst.
And I had already lived this shit. I had already lived this shit way long before when I had finally seen Goodfellas. I took the bag, and my mom tells me, where was the bag? And everybody's tripping out because I already said this 8 times. And I love to build suspense, people. I'm a good storyteller. Building suspense is easy.
It's trying to find out. Yep, it's the best.
So... what we did is, my mom came out of jail. She comes to pick us up. She goes, hey, you have that bag, huh? I said, yeah. She goes, you know where it's at, don't you? I said, yeah. She goes, this, and this is in there, right? I said, mm-hmm. Everything, Mom. Got it. I got you. She goes, I'll make you a deal. I said, all right. What's the deal? She goes, I'll go buy you that starter Raiders jacket that you want if you bring back the drugs. So I got my starter Raider jacket.
And everything just fucking... Damn, that's so crazy, too.
No. Angelito. You remember those starter Raider jackets that fucking Eazy used to sport?
Yeah.
I got one of those. You know why? I did some gangster shit, bro.
That was it.
I fucking took all the bag. I shoved it in that bush. And when my mom came out of jail, I brought her back that bag. With everything in it. She looked at me like she was going to fucking cry. And I seen the joy in her eyes like she taught me well.
Dope.
So I got the bag back. And the next day we went and fucking bought the starter jacket because she was able to put together some sales. Because when she went to jail for 2 days, there was coke fiends that needed their cocaine. And I'm not talking like people on the street with nothing. I'm talking like guys with thousands of dollars ready to spend it.
Oh, dude, yeah, there's fucking...
So she got out of jail and she made that money with what she had, with the resources she had. She made that money. And she took that money and we chilled for like a week, maybe 2. We just chilled. We seen people watching us and shit. And she didn't sell much. She didn't do anything. She didn't re-up because she couldn't. Because we didn't have the money to re-up anymore.
Damn.
Because the DEA took it.
Yeah.
So she's just waiting for the people that she owes money to call and say, hey, it's about that time. What's up? And she's waiting. And so we waited a couple weeks, I think, after she got out. And she didn't tell nobody, but we secretly packed the trunk of our car. Every day, just a little bit. We put a couple things in there, a couple more things, and we put everything else in storage. And then in the middle of the night, we waited till like 11:45, and we fucking drove away from California. I seen the Golden Gate Bridge for the last time in the middle of the night. It's 1 a.m. I watched those big beams go past. I watched those little pillars go past for the last time. And I looked back and I took a picture of it. I had this little disposable camera. I took a little picture of the Golden Gate Bridge leaving our periphery, and we headed to New Mexico. I didn't know what New Mexico was. I didn't know what I was going to come into. All I knew was I wanted to be home, but home didn't exist anymore.
You had to make it your home.
Home didn't exist anymore. We were going to a new home. So we drove for 2 days from San Francisco, California, to Albuquerque, New Mexico. And on the way, we had a flat tire. And on the side of the road, we slept in Arizona until the morning when a highway patrol pulled over and called us a tow truck and got us back on the road. We pulled into Albuquerque about 2, 3 in the afternoon on one day. And I remember pulling in and thinking, fuck, we're here. I wonder what's going to happen. And they said, turn right on Louisiana and turn left on Zuni. Little did we know.
You ended up in the war zone.
We end up in the war zone. You know, we live in the war zone for a couple years. We live with my aunt, and my aunt has a friend that works at the Section 8 office in New Mexico, and she gets us bumped up the list, and we get a Section 8 apartment. And my aunt's doing the ice cream business, and we get into the ice cream business, and we live in the war zone.
And that's
where we met. So what happened is, so we're in the war zone and we're meeting people. Now we just came from California under duress, and we're meeting people left and right. And some of the people we met were your family. One of my mom's best friends for a long time was your mom. Is your mom?
Yeah, even though that's the beauty of having one of those friends, is like they still didn't talk for quite a while, but when they saw each other, it was just like picking it right back up.
So you know, they together were like a team, and we lived in the war zone. And by the time I was 11, I was selling crack. We moved out of the war zone. I was like 14. I was like 13, 14. We moved in with Denise, the white nurse. She moved to New Mexico to save us again.
That's dope.
She got a apartment at Aztec Village in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and she moved us in there out of the ghetto because my mom wasn't affording rent anymore, and we were going to be homeless again. So again, for the third time in my life, the white nurse comes along, saves the day. That's why I love my grandma niece. Her name is Denise, but my grandma niece, I love her. So we get to New Mexico. I start doing construction. I start doing wood floors, and I do wood floors, for 20 years now. And then I look at Instagram I look at somebody on Reddit talking about Instagram one day, and they were talking about the best accounts in Albuquerque on Instagram. There was a page on Reddit. You can probably go back to the time machine and find that page on the Albuquerque Reddit the day I started my Instagram, which was like December 8th, 2019, maybe 2018, something like that. And I said, I'm going to start an Instagram for my wood floors. So I start that Instagram, and eventually, earlier in the year, this year, I said, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to start just making content because everybody's stuck inside for COVID. And so I started making a video, like a movie trailer style. It was pretty cool. I went from a movie trailer to actually doing a handful of episodes. Episode after episode, I hit 30 days of a daily wood floor vlog. I had a lot of other ideas, and I've been contacting a lot of people and getting the ball rolling. And over the last few weeks, Actually, I'd say February of like last year, the year before, I bought this $900 truck. And then on Instagram, I talked to the guy who runs the truck club here, and I asked him if I could go cruise with them, and they were like cool with it. And so I went and cruised with them, and I took my cameras. I've been doing this daily wood floor vlog for almost a month or 3 weeks at that point. And I took this to the car show, and I just kind of like took a bunch of pictures of what I thought was cool. The next week, I just started putting those out on Instagram and tagging the people that were there at that cruise, you know, that I had learned of, and I had met, and I had seen that were there posting stuff too. And I got invited to another car show the following week. It was like a car cruise by another group of guys. And then I got invited to another one and another one. And so that's where the last 2 weeks of my life has been, is just taking pictures of car cruising. And
but the notoriety that you've gotten for it is pretty sick. Like you've been taking these pictures, but yet the people that have been reposting your pictures is what's making it crazy.
So what I did is one Saturday, not just one Saturday, this last Saturday, I said, man, I really, you know, I was always, ever since it came out, I was a big fan of the LA Originals documentary. And it was like, wow, you know, these guys are fucking
dope. They're
the pimps, man, you know. And so I was watching it, you know, before I went out to my very first car cruise this past few weeks. And I was watching it. And then when I was there, I was filming stuff. And I said, man, this looks like the stuff I'd see on that film. I'm going to tag them in a post. And so I tagged them, and they reposted it right away because they thought it was pretty cool too. And I thought, damn, that's fucking awesome.
Quick,
like immediately. And then so I did it again, and they did it again. They reposted my stuff.
And if you guys don't know, LA Originals has over 32,000 followers.
So they're reposting all my stuff every day for the past week. And the other day I got a whole, I said, you know, I'm going to DM this guy, you know, and tell him, hey, you know, I really appreciate the love, you know, because every day for the past 5 days, if you look on the LA Original story on Instagram, half of it was my content. And the reason it was my content is because I kept posting them. Because the first time they did it, after that, a few times they did it, I got a hold of them and I said, hey, I'm going to do this. I'm going to start posting like all kinds of content for you. If that's what you want from me, I'm going to do that. So I started posting mad content for them. And it wasn't content that was like unoriginal, or like it wasn't like
stock footage.
It wasn't like something I downloaded off the internet.
Yeah.
It was something I went out and I got my homies together. I went to where they were and I made sure to make it look beautiful and then kind of really interpret what exactly was happening at that moment. And as best as I could with what I had. And then as I was doing that, I started learning better, and then I started getting better at editing. And then the editing of all these pictures and videos was actually creating what I would see on in front of me between me and the camera. I brought the camera specifically so I could show you, you know. So like in between me and what was going on, I wanted to make sure I put this camera. Now it looks like a funny little setup because I have like a GoPros are known for their battery, so I got an extra battery pack and a wire coming to the GoPro, and I got a Hero 7 because it's the best in stabilization. And what I started to do is just putting together the stuff that I was seeing in front of me already, and putting it out like in my own way, and like in a way that can be reposted and enjoyed by so many people, you know, like everybody wants to do right now in this new modern era of Instagram. Everybody wants to post. This new modern era of Facebook, everybody wants to see those videos. Not only do people want to see those videos, it's even better that we live a life that has that.
Yeah, like a technological age.
Well, technologically, and then also too, we live in New Mexico, and in front of me is all these friends and cousins and family members who have all these vehicles, and they have all these lowriders, and then, you know, they have friends who have friends who have friends. They all have vehicles, and it's like this is what we do, and this is how we live. And so what I decided to do was just kind of start putting myself in between the viewer the consumer of this stuff and what I'm seeing in front of me. And then when I started realizing is like, this is the gold. This is like good stuff. And
this is marketable.
This is really like some really cool stuff. And then when I started posting it, with the header of LA Originals Film, it was all just to kind of bring attention because I had so much attention on my posts already that, and I told them too, I got a hold of him, I DM'd him and I said, hey, is this cool? Are you golden with this? Like, I know you're reposting it, but are you okay with me like saying I'm the unofficial ambassador to LA Films for New Mexico? And they DM'd me back and they were like, this is fucking awesome, bro. Fuck yes. You're the man, dog. You do your thing, bro, and keep posting that shit. That's what's up. So I kept posting it. And they kept reposting all of my shit. Every day, they have like 24 posts on their story. And I was getting 12 of them. It was all my content, putting out original content. Nothing I downloaded. Everything that came off of this camera right here that I just brought in. And everything that I brought off of that camera and I brought to the table that I gave to the world, I was able to bring notoriety to Burke and then myself too. So what I did is I got a hold of the film. You know, I got like the page that was retweeting me or reposting my stuff every day. And I said, hey, man, like, I come kick it? Like, I don't know. Like, why not, dog?
Right.
You know, like, you know, we're all homies and shit. Like, I'm already posting all the shit for you. Like,
you're liking it, obviously.
You already know I'm down. I'm legit. I'm working with all these people now that you see on my screen. And when I told him I couldn't kick it, and they got a hold of him, and the guy got a hold of me. He goes, hey, man, I'm vacationing in Buenos Aires. You know, I run the page. Let me give you the info for the people you want to talk to. So I got those people on the phone the other day. And they told me, hey, you know what we did? We told ESPN, fuck you. We told LA Times, fuck you. But dog, call me at the end of the month, homie. And I said, what? And they're like, no, just get a hold of us. You know, once all this blows over, well, you can come kick it, dog. I said, what?
That's already mind-blowing.
I said, damn, you guys told ESPN they couldn't kick it. You guys told the LA Times and all these people want to come and kick it. And I'm sure that they're going to try to do the same now that they see me online. They're going to people want to call and fucking say, hey, can we kick it? But I didn't call. I talked to the people that I knew. And he told me, here's the names. Tell them that I sent you on purpose for this reason. And I got a hold of those people. I said, hey, you know, I want to do some more grassroots promotion for the post-production of your movie. And they told me to get a hold of me here after the corona's over in this next month. I didn't get like oh yeah, whatever, bro, hit me back on the DMs. I got personal contact information for these people because they want me to come out there and kick it. And so right now, you know, then that happened, and that happened within hours of me seeing Angelito for the first time in 16 years.
And yeah, again, guys, once he told me the story, I was just like, fuck, dude, that's intense. Like, all of this going like a domino effect, dude. Just one after the other. And that just it just blew me away. It literally blew me away.
It was pretty awesome. That's why I was like, all right, well, we're going to do a podcast. Might as well put it all on the table. Put all my cards on the table and show you guys what's up. So when it comes down to it, you see all my posts that has LA Originals on it. It's because those are the homies.
That's what's up.
And they're going to, you know, that's what they said right now. If you look at the post I just reposted right before I started this thing, they said, hey, you're going to make sure to rep the LA Originals film, right? You're going to make sure to talk about it on this free publicity. You know, I got this publicity. I got this platform. So whenever I talk about LA Originals film, I want you guys to go watch it.
Get on it, guys.
Just go watch it. I'm not even asking you to go spend any money. Y'all have Netflix already. You guys don't even have anything to chill in Netflix to anymore because you already watched Ozark and shit.
Right. They got dope-ass YouTube content. Just go look up LA Official. Just go look it up.
Just go look up LA Originals and go watch it. Those are my homies now. And now, you know, whatever happens in the future, I can always say, hey, these are my dogs, and who knows? Even if they don't bring me through or whatever, man, at least they got a hold of me. Said, fuck yeah, dog, we like what you're doing. You're pimping it out here on your own, and we didn't even ask you to do this, but now you are. And so they posted, you know what I mean, just a minute ago. When I started this, I told him I was going on here. He goes, make sure you rep the film, bro, dog. And I said, fuck yes. Are you kidding? I'm repping the film all day.
Dude.
I even brought out the LA jersey and everything, bro, just because those are my homies, okay? So whenever you want to give me some skina, go give them some skina. Go shout them out. Hey, what you need to do is go on to the LA Originals page, Facebook or Instagram, and give me a shout out. Tell them, hey, Flores Burke sent me. Flores Burke, at Flores Burke. And I'm not coming to you as some polished actor, dog.
This is real.
This is some real shit. I just told you I was selling drugs at 11. I was selling crack cocaine with the Cubans at 11 in the ghetto, bro. So I'm not some actor. I don't go to these hot meets as some outsider who's a different color or anything, bro. I'm one of the fucking homies because I've been here, dog. I've been here for a long fucking time, and I've been doing this shit, and I've been working it, I've been pushing, and I've been really, really trying to get something. I didn't even know what it was. And then the other week, it was like, dog, boom, you got all this footage in front of you. Let's do some post-production grassroots promotion. And that's what I told Homeboy. That's what I told the homeboys over there at SA Studios, Soul Assassin Studios. And I told them, you know, I got a hold of people. I didn't get a hold of fucking just some guy who does this or that. They shot me up the chain of command so I can go see the homies someday. You know what I mean? So eventually, we're gonna go over there so we could rep the LA original film, and that's what I'm here for. And that's why I decided this whole podcast, I'm gonna lay it all on the line so you can see who I really am. You know, I was killed at birth, helicoptered to someplace else. You know, and then it moved across country to struggle some more, and then to be thrown into this cocaine game in order to be a witness protection out here in New Mexico, just to get hooked up with the homies here and all my dogs here in New Mexico, and just to bring me up, and we're all this together. You know what I mean? So like New Mexico, the way we Burke people do it is we're family, man. People have been commenting on my films, on my videos. They've been commenting how, you know, even people who don't comment, they get a hold of me and they say, hey, it's a trip how New Mexico, you see so much family together. All these cruises have a mom and a dad and kids, and there's car seat. It's because we're family, dog.
Tradition.
We're tradition. This is New Mexico. So like, we're Spanish. We come from a lot of deep, rich Spanish tradition, and it's still here, and we're still living it. And right now, it includes a lowrider in the middle of it. But that's our culture. That's who we are, and that's what I'm showing. That's what I'm representing. So I was trying to get, you know, I was trying to get a couple views every day on my hardwood floor videos of me just being me, being a craftsman. But lo and behold, did I know, hey, you guys wanted to see what I was doing on the weekend instead.
Yeah, you discovered another talent.
So on the weekend, I'm over here, and I'm making sure that I do due diligence to get in front of these people. And these are my homies. I'm not going out and filming fucking strangers, dog. I'm out there filming the homies. So whenever you see my films, you see my little pieces on Instagram. You see them on Facebook, because I'm on Facebook now. Look me up, Joshua Rochelle. I just started a Facebook so that I can shout it out today. I started a Facebook. You see all the lowriders. You see all the bikes. You see all the people. Those are my people, dog. Those aren't strangers. Those are people that I might have met within the last few weeks because I've been networking now. A handful of them might be, but for a lot of those people, they're family and they're friends, and they're people I've known for a long time. And just like some of our favorite video games, you know, Grand Theft Auto, you go and you meet, and then you start building this network of people on Grand Theft Auto. And that's kind of how I feel right now. I'm building this big old network. And what's happening is it's growing fast, and I have people coming to me and saying, hey, we like what you're doing. Can I have some of that? Here's money. How do I give you this money in exchange for what you're doing and to give it to me? So that's what we're going to do. This next week is going to be a push. I think we're going to go get a business license. We got some really good photographers, and we're going to bring New Mexico lowriders to the world our own way. We're going to bring the fire through photography and through video. I'm going to throw down on the video. I got 2 photographers, and I got a third right here. So Angelito, myself, and the Hedgehog and the Scientist, a.k.a. those are my homies. What's up if you're watching? The Hedgehog and the Scientist, me and Angelito, we're going to go kill the game out here in New Mexico. And that's the first time I've ever told all of you guys. That's the first time I kind of let that out of the bag. All right? So we're going to kill the game out here in New Mexico with all this lowrider content. And we're going to put it together for everybody.
So, yeah, you guys make sure to follow him and get all that shit situated, dude. Look him up, get everything going, because it's just going to be content nonstop from here on out. Like, he's going to be pushing shit. I'm going to be helping pushing shit. We're just going to... Dude, I want you to be more of a recurring guest, dude. Come on here. Let's talk more, dude. We didn't even talk about the simulation. We didn't even talk about aliens, bro. We didn't even talk about religion, bro.
We went deep. We went deep last night before we even had the podcast.
And that's the beauty of this podcast is, like, you can always come on, dude, and always have a conversation about the world. Dude. Nothing ever changed. Nothing. There's so much out there.
You know, I've built up over the years a very unique perspective, and I would love to share it with you guys and with you, Angelito, especially because it's not like I'm coming into a stranger's home. I'm not coming into a stranger's place, their podcast studio, and trying to tell them something that they kind of get involved with themselves. They you know, Angelito was here. We're family.
He's not telling me a story of the ghetto that I don't already know. That's the beauty of that. This is a portrayal of something that you guys don't know.
Yeah, and we're just trying to bring it to you guys. So whenever I come in here and you see me and Angelito and we just started posting about each other, it's literally because we just got hooked up again after a long time. And we did live this shit together, man. We lived it. I lived it before I got to New Mexico. When we got to New Mexico, we just kept living it. And it's because life is life. It's not going to let you be.
Yeah, dude. After we stopped, like, disconnected and stuff, like, life got hard, dude. I mean, you know, I lost my brother, man.
Dude, that was the craziest thing I've ever heard.
That's hard, dude.
It was rough.
That shit's a hard life, dude.
And life doesn't get easier. Tomorrow's not going to get easier. And you know, shout out to Dixon Flannel. Okay, the guy who started Dixon Flannel, I'm gonna give a little shout out to him too, because Danny Dixon's been a big influence on me. If you go to his Instagram page, and he posts a lot of the story about how Dixon Flannels got started, and that's my dog too. I already talked to Homeboy. I already talked to Donnie. I'm sorry, Danny Dixon. I already talked to Danny, and I told him I'm going to have you make a signature Dixon line for Burke. And he said, that's fucking awesome. I said, I'm going to blow up, brother, and you're going to make a fucking flannel just for Burke. And I said, it's going to be pretty badass. You know, it's going to be a Dixon flannel so that we have our own freaking flannel. It's not a Pendleton. Dope, it's a Dixon, all right? So, again, guys, I'm going to do this again. LA Original Film. It's on Netflix. Go watch it. We need numbers. That's what we're here for.
That's dope.
That's what I'm doing. I'm doing grassroots promotion for post-production.
Out there, dude. Out there.
I'm getting in the ghetto, bro. I'm getting in the nitty-gritty. I'm telling my photographers, you got to watch out for the people behind you and around you. You got to watch out because there's a lot of crazy people. So
I'm going to show you some cool shit too, dude. I'm bringing a different perspective that you're probably going to be impressed with.
And see, everybody is their own artist. So whenever I say the Hedgehog and the Scientist, those are my dogs too. They have their own way, man. They're beautiful. You probably have your own way too, and it's beautiful. And I have my own way of videoing things too. It's beautiful.
It's all going to be a great combination.
This weekend, Google Rob Vanderslice, guys. So I got a hold of Rob Vanderslice, and I've been a big fan of Rob's for a long time because he is the premier lowrider painter, and ironically he lives in Albuquerque. So what happened is I've always followed him because I've always been a fan of the lowrider paint jobs. The lowrider paint jobs is an extreme art of its own. Rob Vanderslice is the guy when it comes to it. Rob Vanderslice, guys. Rob Vanderslice. He's on Instagram. Now, if you look up Rob Vanderslice, he's in New Mexico. A guy who does lowrider paint jobs, and he is the best at it. So this week he had posted on his page, which I follow, the fact that he's going to have a lowrider cruise, just like we've been having for the last few weeks, ever since we kind of kicked off the season with our Bernalillo cruise. So I got a hold of him and I said, hey man, you know, I got these photographers, I got a camera, I'll film it, and I got a couple car clubs that I could probably bring with me. And I didn't think he'd like respond or anything. He got back to me, said, dude, that's freaking awesome. He doesn't cuss, he's a very religious man. But that's amazing, he said. That's amazing. So what I did is I got a hold of him. I told him we're gonna come and we're gonna show up. So tomorrow evening, watch my page. It's gonna have a lot of stuff on it. Sunday and Monday and Tuesday. I get so much stuff that it takes me a while to edit it down.
But you have content through a whole week,
dude. I have content all day, all week. I work a 9-to-5 job, and I'll throw a couple tidbits of that in there. But I'm pretty much trying to give you the fire content that what I do is I edit it down at night so that I have all these posts ready for the day. And then I just kind of feed them out there during the day while I work. So I got fire content, you guys. And then what we're going to be doing is we're going to bring a lot more of production value to that content, so that you guys, the viewers and everybody else, all my fans and all the fans of Angelito and all the fans of New Mexico and all the fans of Lowriders have a different avenue, another added avenue to come to when they want to see some fire content. When you want to see a real cool lowrider scenes and you want to see what's really going on with the culture, I'm not trying to put some sugar coat on it. We're going to show the culture, man.
Yeah, straight from where it's supposed to
be. This is Burque. We're going to put Burque on the map. I'm going to head out to LA. We're going to go shout out the homies. We're going to tell them what's up. And we're going to come back with some skina from them so that they could hook it up with some more manpower, some force, so that we could bring you Burque the way it is. I'm going to bring you guys Burque, bro. I'm going to show Burque to the world. All right? So I got momentum. We're blowing up. And when he was saying we're blowing up quick, it's because we are. I got 1,000 followers in like no time. I had nothing the other days and weeks ago. I had nothing. And then I did my vlog, and then all of a sudden I started doing the cars, and boom, we got a lot of people. So we're going to keep bringing that fire. And what I did is I hooked up with the Hedgehog and the Scientist. That's the name I gave him because I'm hood and I could do that. So the AK, the Hedgehog and the Scientist, those are my guys. Angelito is my other guy. And the four of us, we're going to be an unstoppable force. All right? We got a podcast right now. We got photographers. We got clients who are begging us to give them the fire, so we're going to do that. We're going to give them the fire. We're going to give you the fire. We're going to bring the fire. We're going to do the fire. We're going to have all kinds of fire.
We're going to have shit coming, dude.
So this weekend we're working with Rob Vanderslice. We're going to hook him up and his daughter. It's his daughter's graduation cruise. And we're going to go out to Old Town Tigway Park at 6:30 tomorrow. We're going to go cruise around 7 p.m. sharp. And we're going to get that fly-ass footage and let the world see what Burque brings, because Burque is sick with it. If you see the people on my posts, go to my stories, go to my pins that I've been pinning on that front page, go to the last 3 posts that I made. These dudes are here. These dudes live it, man. These are my dogs. I reach out to every one of them and talk to them, and these aren't strangers. These are people I had interactions with before I even started doing this video content. So these aren't. I'm not making this stuff up. I'm not some outsider that came from nowhere. I'm a Burque boy, and I'm just some dude who's doing floors, and now I'm going to bring you the fire when it comes to the lowriders. So follow me, and we'll get it going, and we're going to bring you some fire shit, dude.
That's what's up, dog. Yeah. Give everybody those shout-outs one more time. Tell them where they can find you. Tell them where they can find all this content at. Dude, we've been here for 2 hours and a half already, bro.
2.5 hours.
And
we can keep going.
Dude, we have fucking dope-ass shit here.
So first and foremost, I want you guys to go to the LA Originals film on Netflix. Go to their page. Follow them. Shout me out. Give them a shout out on that stories. Shout them out in your stories so that they can repost it, telling them that you listen to me on MuseMe TV and on the podcast, so they know what's up, that I'm bringing the heat and I'm bringing the promotion. So LA Originals on Instagram and on Facebook and on Netflix, folks. Go to Netflix. Watch LA Originals. Follow me on Floors of Burque. That's floors like the wood floor. Floors of Burque. Burque is the way we say Albuquerque here when you know what's up. When you're initiated, you say Burque. And then it also, too, folks, so one other thing I want to explain, too, you guys see me throwing up what looks like a gang sign. This is what I call my crown. Okay, folks? This is my crown. All right? That's my crown. Because I'm the king of Burque. I'm the king of wood floors here in Burque. And I'm king of lowrider content here now, too. So we're bringing it. Follow me, guys, and share. I'm about to have some giveaways for all the new followers. I'm gonna have some giveaways. I have them there at the house that distributors have sent me, and T-shirts from local jiu-jitsu gym, 10th Planet. Shout out to 10th Planet. My dog My dog over there at Dark Haven Studios here in Albuquerque. Dark Haven Studios. Go shout them out too. Tell them that you heard about them through me. If you're in Albuquerque and you want the premier jiu-jitsu experience when this COVID is over, even before they're putting out some fire content. They're putting out every day. They're putting out classes online, video streaming classes where you can actually get oriented before you actually walk into the gym.
That's dope.
You can go to darkhavenstudios.com. You can sign up for their virtual classes right now.
And start learning.
Start learning jiu-jitsu before you even get in the class so that when you actually do go in there and you start rolling, you'll be a little bit more prepared. You'll be better equipped. And then also, too, they show you a lot of exercises that can be used no matter what you do. The guy who directs it, he got into jiu-jitsu so that he could get better at climbing. Okay? So when he got better at climbing, when he got to jiu-jitsu, his climbing got better and so forth and so forth. So one of the main guys there at 10th Planet Dark Haven Studios, he's a climber. That's why he got into jiu-jitsu. And then in his climbing and his jiu-jitsu improved together. So if you have something that you're trying to improve on, if it is everyday life, there's nothing better than jiu-jitsu. I went to jiu-jitsu for 5 years through another organization, and I learned so much about how to be a more prepared person and how to be a better person to the people around me, how to be better caring, and then how to just be a better person, like in fitness and everything else. So I went through jiu-jitsu, and I lost a bunch of weight, and then we had a kid, and I had a kid, and I went to work, and I lost jiu-jitsu. So I'm gonna go back to jiu-jitsu, and when I do, I'm going back to Dark Haven Studios. Dark Haven Studios is here in Albuquerque. It's on San Mateo and Candelaria. Tell them I sent you. Dark Haven Studios is the local affiliate of 10P. Whenever I say 10P, let's see if I can get this right. Let's see. 1, boom, 10. That might be the 10. That might be the 10, depending on how you guys are seeing it oriented. But 10P, 10th Planet, that's Eddie Bravo's system.
Yep, dude. I fucking love that guy. No gi. That's the shit right there.
So if you want the premier no gi experience here in Burque, you go to Dark Haven Studios. Carlos Condon is one of the instructors there. Nasty Nate Harris is one of the instructors there. So you guys will get some premier guys, okay? If you're in Burque and you want to do some jiu-jitsu. If you're not in Burque and you want to do some jiu-jitsu, get a hold of them. You can come to New Mexico and visit the studio, the Dark Haven Studios. You can come visit. You can come check it out. They'll have you in, even if you're here for just a couple days. If you roll somewhere else, that's fine too. They'll have you in. As soon as this COVID thing is over, they're going to reopen and they're going to have some classes and you're going to have some good time. Jiu-jitsu is good for everybody. LA Films, LA Original Films, guys, go watch it. Dark Haven Studios, they hooked me up with some swag so I can give it away, and we're going to start the giveaway here soon. I think I'm going to go give the giveaway until my birthday, and then on my birthday I'll probably pull numbers. I'll take down followers, and we'll just get everybody in the raffle, everybody who wants to be in the raffle, and we'll raffle off. I got some wood floor cleaning kits, guys, and then a T-shirt from Dark Haven Studios, and then I'm also going to throw in a Mighty Mike's a gift card. Mighty Mike is my homeboy. He does barbecue here in Albuquerque. He's contactless delivery at Mighty Mike's on Instagram. Mighty Mike's Barbecue, folks. Mighty-Mike's-Barbecue on Instagram. That's my boy. He'll do contactless delivery through Venmo, through PayPal, through
Cash App,
all those ones. So he'll bring you quality smoked meats, and it's way better than the other places, guys. It's way better than. And then the reason I'm shouting these people out, they're not people who have paid me. These are not sponsors. These are my homies. Okay, these are the people that I'm bringing along with me because they've been there since the beginning. So Dark Haven Studios, shout out to Mighty Mike's, and a big most important is LA Original Films. I really appreciate you guys for all the love you guys have showed me over the last few days, and to especially to Hunter and to Mark. I really appreciate you guys. You guys are the bomb, and you guys have really motivated me over the last 24 hours because of the kind words you guys have sent me, and I really appreciate you just getting back to me. One of those things, So shout out to my contacts there, and I hope to see a cartoonist Stefan, and even if I don't, it's all good, man. We're gonna go down to the studios and at least take pictures of the cars and just chill, at least. And like I told him, I don't need to see any faces. I just want to come fucking get some of the good juju on my skin from the fucking SA Studios. So go check out Soul Assassin Studios. Go check out LA Films. Go check out Dark Haven Studios. Go check out Mighty Mike's. Go check out my page at Flores of Burque. Make sure you continue to follow Angelito. Let him know that you want me on here more often, and I'll go into more in depth. Dude, I got some more stories. I didn't even remember. We said we were going to go. We were going to go back to the story that was about the other story, and we didn't even get to it. But like I said, man, I enjoy giving you content, and this is more of it. And this content right here that we're going to produce with Angelito is just grassroots shit. It's real shit.
It's gonna be dope.
It's no bullshit either, guys. Like, I watch a lot of podcasts. I watch a ton of podcasts, and I see a lot of fucking goofy, fake motherfuckers, and that's not who we are, man. We came from the ghetto. Like I said, I came here. One of my main goals tonight, that I had planned on was just kind of like letting you people know, the fans of Angelito here, Angels fans, that he is from the gutter. He's real, man. He's not some bullshit that just came to you from nowhere, whose daddy gave him all this mixer and all this stuff and set this place up for him and hired a designer. This is him.
Hard work.
Dude, this guy rolls deep. He has his own studio. I just been more and more impressed with him over the last 24 hours because I've actually learned who he has become. The little kid that I seen that I left behind has turned into a quality person and a strong podcaster. Look at all this stuff he's put together. Look at this podcast studio. Look at how professional this thing is. This is not a joke, folks. He's really doing it. We're really doing it. Angelito's a real deal too. You're not getting bullshit podcasting from nobody, from some goofball.
You heard it here, folks. Fucking make sure to subscribe, follow, all that good shit on the channel. Make sure to follow me anywhere social media is, fucking MuseMe TV, fucking Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter. You let them all know, man. Fucking dude, I'm so proud to have you on, dude. It's so sick, man. You gotta come back.
Yeah, I'm here, man.
We gotta come back.
You just tell me when you want me here and I'll be here.
We'll do it, dude. Guys, thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure to guys check out Floors of Budke, all that good stuff that he mentioned, guys. We love you all, guys.